I don't know that I could take I couldn't take much more of that. 4 days of the DNC is about 3.5 days too many, in my humble opinion. What? Oh, we'll finally get some sleep tonight. Well, that'll be amazing. We don't have to stay up late and worry about any of the speakers. Listen, we got a lot to cover, a lot to talk about, and I have a very big announcement too, which I'm going to get to here right now because, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Kaye saves the Take two. Mark Kaye Saves the Republic begins right now. I have a very big announcement. There is a very special guest scheduled to appear on today's edition of Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. I can't say any more. I don't want to ruin the surprise, but I will say this. There is a very special guest today on Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Let me close my email so we don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm so excited about this. Special, and look, I'm not saying it's Beyonce. I'm not saying it's not Beyonce, but I'm not saying it's Beyonce. I'm just saying look forward to a very special guest today on Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Also, we've got an extended edition. This is very exciting because we have a big announcement coming up at 2 o'clock Eastern time today from Glendale, Arizona, where Donald Trump will be speaking. And Donald Trump has also announced he has a very special guest. Lots of special guests. This is the election of special guests, apparently. This is the election of special guests. Donald Trump has a special guest today. Kamala Harris was supposed to have a special guest yesterday and failed to produce said special guest, which I'll be honest, it's a bigger thing than people want to than people want you to realize. Yesterday, right before Kamala Harris's speech, the rumors were just swirling. The rumors were everywhere. Everyone was online. Everyone was talking. Everyone was all excited about the possibility of Beyonce or Taylor Swift or some other big name coming out and performing either before or after, or let's be honest, the best time would have been during Kamala Harris's big speech where she accepted the nomination for president for the Democrat Party. And that was it. I mean, you couldn't move without somebody telling you about Beyonce. I was getting DMs from people in high school who I hadn't talked to in years, and they were like, "Can you get me tickets to the DNC? I hear Beyonce is performing tonight." Well, Don Lemon was duped by this whole thing, and he reported on the special guest rumor.
I'm sure you guys have read all the headlines, all the stuff on social media about who's going to be at the DNC. Is it going to be Beyonce? Is it going to be Taylor Swift? Here's what I hear from sources. If it's going to be anyone, it would be Beyonce, Taylor Swift, and George W. Bush speaking. Those would be the heavy hitters, and it could happen. I'm just saying.
Okay, so the rumor that Don Lemon helped to perpetuate was it would be Beyonce, Taylor Swift, or George W. Bush. Not really sure what George W. Bush would have been performing. Not really. What song would George W. Bush sing if George W. Bush was going to sing a song? All my exes live in Texas? Well, I don't think he has any. I think he's just got the one. I think he's just got the one wife. What's another good George Bush song? I don't know. Amarillo by Morning. He'd love all the I Got Friends in Low Places. That one's dedicated to Dick Cheney, I'm sure. But it was either Beyonce. Well, this is a threesome too. Beyonce, Taylor Swift, or George W. Bush. And the smart money or the big money was all on Beyonce. Everyone thought it was Beyonce. All I heard was Beyonce. In fact, the crowd at the DNC was so big. So many people were thrilled to see not Kamala Harris's acceptance speech, but Beyonce perform live at the DNC that they rushed. They rushed to the Capitol Arena and they were trying to get in. The fire marshal had to come in and say, look, no more people. Yeah, so there's a big crowd in the background, and the crowd's sitting there, and they're trying to push their way through, and they're saying, look, previously we said we were able to get people, but no, we are at capacity. We don't want anyone storming the stage. And Peter Doocy from Fox News was interviewing folks on the floor, and they were so thrilled, not about Kamala Harris's acceptance speech, but they were so thrilled about Beyonce. And that's really the reason why Beyonce was, quote unquote, booked, scheduled to appear, because they needed to drum up excitement for a candidate that nobody's really excited about. They needed all eyes on Kamala Harris and her speech because nobody really wants to watch Kamala Harris speak. She hadn't spoken since the first day. And even then, the first day she spoke, she only spoke for like 2 minutes. And then she dipped out. And so now what you're starting to see is the Democrat Party, and they're trying to figure out a way that they can drum up phony excitement for somebody who nobody is really excited about. So they say Beyonce's coming. And at the end of the day, guess what? Beyonce didn't come.
In anticipation here and elsewhere that there may be a special guest, I am told by Democrats that Kamala Harris was their guest. They did not want a celebrity at the end of this convention to essentially compete with her.
Oh, sorry. The special guest that the Democrats, the special guest that the Democrats actually planned was Kamala Harris. She was the special guest at her own convention. Was she really? First of all, she wasn't a guest. The convention was all about her. She wasn't an invited guest. It was Kamala's convention. She's the Democrat nominee. She's now basically the head of the Democrat Party. So I don't really see, you're really throwing the party at this point. You're not really a guest. And also, we already knew she was scheduled to appear. The fact of the matter is, the Democrats decided that, you know what, we should probably say Beyonce is going to come, but then we know she's not going to come. And then everyone will watch the speech anyway. I don't know what's worse. I've been trying to think about it all day. What's worse? Having to book Beyonce so that people will feign interest in your candidate, or lying about booking Beyonce so people will feign interest in your candidate. These people, they are incapable of telling the truth. Incapable. Either way, they don't have the capacity to tell the truth. There's a lot more on that coming up here in just a minute, and we'll get to that, I promise. Plus, we'll get some of the reaction from the speech. As you might imagine, the left-leaning networks were all about it, and then the right-leaning networks they were unfortunately steeped in reality. Plus, Donald Trump did something really quirky, and then we've got to talk about what's happening today at 2 o'clock with RFK Jr. withdrawing from the race. He's already filed the paperwork in a lot of these places. And he has, he's decided he's going to pull out of the race. He's no longer going to seek the nomination for president, and he will support President Donald Trump, which is a massive coup for the Republican Party, for the Donald Trump campaign, and it is a huge blow to Kamala Harris. Which I know, bad choice of probably a bad choice of poor choice of words there. But it is a huge blow to Kamala Harris and her campaign. They will not even have 24 solid hours of press coverage on her speech, because what's going to happen in just a couple of hours in Arizona is just going to blow it all out of the water. Probably again, not the best. Not the best choice of words. But listen, before we get to all that, though, I want to do something that I told everyone I would do more often, and I did one time. We relaunched this podcast in July 15th. It was at the RNC, the Republican National Convention, and we had so many people that were just so excited that we were back. So many people that were just thrilled that we were able to communicate with you one more time, bring you the information that you need, bring you the entertainment that you desire and you crave, bring you the enlightenment, and most importantly, the inspiration and the hope that's required sometimes every single day to just suffer through this life that the fake news media is telling you one thing, but you know the other to be true. And when we relaunched, I knew it was going to be fun. I knew we were going to get a lot of Catriots coming back. I knew a lot of you Catriots were going to be thrilled about it, and you were going to be supportive, but the support has just been overwhelming. And one of the things I wanted to do was share some of the reviews, because if you guys are nice enough to leave reviews about our podcast, then I definitely want to make sure that you understand that we're reading them and we appreciate them, and we want you to keep them coming. So let's go to the reviews later. Let's get a little review reading music here. That's very good. He's back. 5 stars. So glad hearing Mark Kaye again. I was a listener back when his show was on radio. When his show on the radio was only an hour. Wow, we've come full circle, haven't we? I started with 1 hour. I got 3. Now I'm back to 1 hour. Then it got even better when he and his producer took over the 3-hour time slot. I was disappointed when the show abruptly ended. His commentary on politics is awesome and highly entertaining. That's from Matthew 333, who listens on Apple. Matthew, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Let's go back and read another one here. This is fun. Love Mark Kaye, 5 stars. I'm glad he's back on. That one's short and to the point. That's Greg Kaufman, also on Apple. True Patriot, 5 stars. Mark is definitely the right person to get some of your news. Just some, not all of it, but some of it. You definitely get updated political news with an upbeat, entertaining feel. And I'm so glad Matt Fig, who listens on Apple, I'm so glad you appreciate that. And I'm so glad you said that, because again, that's all we opt to do here. Entertain and inform. Make bad news sound good. Bring you information you need and leave you, hopefully, you leave feeling hopeful about the country. We don't want you to just, look, yes, are people bad? Sure. Are things bad? Yes. Do sometimes we look at the world and go, oh my God, how did we get in this position? Absolutely. But we all are here together. We all here are of one like mind and spirit. And if we work together and stay together, we can and we will win. When we fight, we win. I heard that somebody said that. I'm not sure who that was. Was listening to podcast, loving it, Chief. Love how you make me connect the dots. LOL, how do you keep your thoughts on track? I lose it sometimes, but how many people have caught the stupid? If people actually paid attention, they may smarten up. Life imitates art. Art imitates life. That's Lovebug 1972. The best of the best. 5 stars from MPN 330. Love this podcast. This again, I know I'm not going to read this all day long. I just wanted to share some of these with you because A, I told you I would. And again, I want you to know how much we appreciate all of the reviews. If you're listening on Spotify, if you're listening on Apple, by all means, if you have some time today, just let us know what you think. And we'll keep, like I said, I'll set a reminder to myself I keep my promises and we bring you more of those as they come on. All right, back to the DNC last night and the double not spy, the bait and switch of Beyonce performing and then not performing. They played Beyonce music when Kamala Harris was coming out, and what happened was a lot of folks thought, oh, it's like a sound check. It's like they're playing Beyonce's music, so when she comes out to perform, it'll all be ready for it. And that wasn't the case. It was just they were playing music to make the audience think, to feed the flames or fan the flames of the rumor that Beyonce would be performing. And I want you to think about what that really means as a party. If they're willing to lie about something little like that, imagine all the other things they'll be willing to lie about. In fact, you don't have to imagine it. Kamala Harris came out and lied about all of them. Kamala Harris came out on stage and just rattled off. First, she bored us with the same story of her life, which we'd heard 9 times. And again, I'm not knocking her life. I'm sure it was a great life. I'm sure she loved her mom and her sister. I'm sure they had a great time cooking gumbo in the flats of San Francisco, which is something I never needed to know about Kamala Harris, but now I do. But it was the same story we'd heard. Everybody told the same story over and over again, to the point where by the time she sold it, it really lost its luster. By the time Kamala Harris came out, we were all experts. I feel like I'd memorized her Wikipedia page, and I didn't really need the recap. But for the first 15 minutes, that's what we got. And then it was just a litany of lies. Lies about her accomplishments, and lies about what she hopes to do, and then lies about Donald Trump. So many lies about Donald Trump. She perpetuated the 2025 agenda lie. She talked about how Donald Trump sent an armed, this is my favorite lie. It's when you don't hear this one often, but when you do hear it, it's just, it's a real knee slapper. She said Donald Trump sent an armed mob to the Capitol building on January 6th to attack our democracy and overthrow the election. Donald Trump didn't send anybody anywhere. Donald Trump said peacefully and patriotically, let your voices be heard. Nobody was armed. The only people that were armed were the agents of Nancy Pelosi and the Capitol Police and the bodyguard who shot Ashley Babbitt. Nobody was armed. There were no armed protesters rolling around the Capitol building doing Donald Trump's bidding. That just didn't happen. That's a bold-faced lie. She talked about the dangerous convicts that Donald Trump wants to let out of prison and the reporters and the journalists that he wants to send to the cells in their place. All of that bogus, false. She continued to push the false narrative that Donald Trump wants a national ban on abortion. Donald Trump wants nothing of the sort. Donald Trump wants to lead not one country, but 50 United States. And Donald Trump is familiar enough with the Constitution of the United States of America and the state doctrines and the way that our government works to know that 50 United States act independently of each other but then all benefit from the protection and some of the various elements that the federal government is able to provide. And really, Donald Trump understands that the federal government should A, protect its citizens at all costs, B, protect the border at all costs, and C, leave everybody the hell alone. After we protect you and secure the border, you're on your own. And Florida, if you want to ban abortions, and Ohio, you don't, or Kansas, you want to ban abortions, which they don't, and California, you want to give people abortions all the time. If you decide as a state that you want a Planned Parenthood abortion and vasectomy truck on every corner, and that's what the majority in your state rules, and your governor signs it into law, have at it. Congratulations. That is exactly what you're going to get, because Donald Trump understands we are the United States of America. We are a confederacy of states, and he wants us to remain that way. And really, I think most people would want that as well. The people that want government intervention and federal intervention only think they want government intervention and federal intervention until the government intervenes in a way that they don't want. In which case, they then go to their governor or they go to their states and they go, "What's going on?" They go, "Hey, you guys voted for this crap. You voted for Kamala Harris. You put her in there. Now you can't get her out." So anyway, that's basically what we were faced with. And a couple of the things that they needed to do, in addition to continue to lie about Donald Trump, because really the DNC, it was twofold. They had to convince everybody that Donald Trump is the worst leader ever, and a Donald Trump presidency would just be awful, just be the worst. It would just be horrible. And CNN was working overtime the entire week. CNN, they had what's his name? Van Jones talking to, they have this guy, I forget his name, Phil something or other, but he's an old speechwriter. Scott is his name. He's an old speechwriter. He worked with George W. Bush, and he's the resident Republican at CNN. And he was brilliant all week long. But listen to this back and forth. This is Van Jones and this guy going back and forth about Donald Trump. This sums up exactly what CNN and the Democrats believed their task to be all week long.
But I think that you have to trust the pilot of the plane in the first place. And the problem right now is that Donald Trump is not a trustworthy pilot. And what these guys are winning, they're winning the babysitter contest. Who do you want? Whose values do you want to be in charge of the plane before we get where we're going? And I think you're getting smoked on that. And I think that's how do you see it?
My brother.
Yes.
My brother. I have to tell you.
Please.
The current pilot of the plane is Kamala Harris. Donald Trump is not the pilot of the plane.
No,
He's right here.
She's the vice president. She's a co-pilot. She's a co-pilot.
They keep trying to tell you that Donald Trump's in charge of the country. Donald Trump has not been president of the United States since 2021, and it is now 2024, soon to be 2025. It's been 4 years almost since Donald Trump sat in the White House, since he had control of any government agency. Donald Trump is not the pilot of the plane. And Van Jones is trying to explain to everybody, nobody trusts Donald Trump as a leader. Oh yeah? Joe Biden is actually the leader. Kamala Harris is his co-pilot, and those two have us targeted right toward a mountain. And we're nosediving. We're nosediving into a mountain unless somebody grabs the controls and spins it around. Everybody really trusted Donald Trump. He was a great pilot. We were flying high for those 4 years during Donald Trump until COVID hit and Joe Biden somehow won the election. And now look what's going on. But that's what they do. They try to convince you that Donald Trump is still the leader of this country. Why? Because the actual leader of this country is their guy, and he's the worst. They know Joe Biden's the worst president ever. They know that he hasn't done anything but destroy this country. They know that inflation's through the roof. They know that our border's not secure. They know that we're on the brink of World War III. They know that prices are high on everything. They know that people can't afford gas. They know that people are taking 2-3 jobs and living off of credit cards. They know all of that. And instead of fixing it, what they're doing is they're trying to deflect it onto Donald Trump. You know, everything's bad, and if you make Donald Trump president, everything will be worse. How could it be? Donald Trump is a private citizen at the moment, and they're doing their darndest to make you think that he's not. The second thing they have to do is make you think that Kamala Harris is somehow some kind of amazingly strong leader. And they do that in two ways. First, they dupe you into watching her speech.
In anticipation here and elsewhere that there may be a special guest, I am told by Democrats that Kamala Harris was their guest. They did not want a celebrity at the end of this convention to essentially compete with her.
Yeah, they didn't want a celebrity, so they brought out, you know who they brought out? Leon Panetta. Leon Panetta, the epitome of the deep state. When you think deep state, there's no one deeper than Leon Panetta. Leon Panetta, you name it. You name the most powerful positions in this country. White House Chief of Staff? Yep, been there, done that. Leon Panetta's been White House Chief of Staff. What about Defense Secretary? Yep. Wait, Leon Panetta has also been Defense Secretary. How about the trifecta? Head of the CIA. Leon Panetta has worked in some capacity, in some bureaucracy in Washington, D.C., heading up very powerful forces of intelligence and military strength forever. This guy has never been elected to anything, and yet he has had his sticky little fingers in all of the Washington honeypots, and he's been just meddling and controlling everything for decades. So they haul Leon Panetta, special guest Leon. You thought you were getting Beyonce, folks, but you got Leon Panetta. And Leon Panetta's job was to try to explain to you how great Kamala Harris would be as the commander-in-chief.
One senior advisor telling me this is a deadly serious election. And if you looked at the end of this program, having Leon Panetta come on, the former defense secretary, really presenting Vice President Harris as a plausible commander-in-chief, that is one of the reasons I'm told that there was not a celebrity performance at the end.
So if Beyonce came out shaking her groove thing, that would have negated Leon Panetta's strong message that Kamala Harris would be a great commander-in-chief. Kamala Harris, by the way, would be the worst commander-in-chief in history. And every one of our enemies would be laughing. They'd be chortling. They'd be thrilled. They'd be doubling down on their military budget. They'd be making plans. They'd be allying with each other. You think that China and Russia are working closely together now? Wait until Kamala Harris puts her hand on that Bible to be sworn in as president. Then you're going to see a brand new axis of evil form, and they know that she's going to do absolutely nothing about it. Donald Trump, on the other hand, kept peace. You don't fight wars if you're strong, and you don't have peace if you're weak. That's what people don't realize. There's peace because you have a strong leader. Whenever there's a strong leader in the White House, that's going to be the most peaceful time you ever have. When you have weak leadership, that's when the you-know-what hits the fan, and we have to start drafting our young men and women to send them off to war. Kamala Harris would be a disaster as commander-in-chief. Everybody knows it, but this DNC has to kind of trick you into thinking she wouldn't be. So they haul you in with promises of Beyonce, and then they hand you Leon Panetta to say she will sit in the Situation Room and keep everybody safe. She won't even go to the border. She's never even been to Europe. How is she going to keep us safe from Vladimir Putin when she's never been to Europe? How is she going to keep the NATO allies safe when she's never even stepped foot in their countries? She's not a commander-in-chief, my foot. Kamala Harris, though, she came out, by the way, and she spoke. I don't want to get into too much of it because I didn't believe it was a great speech. I do not share Rachel Maddow's excitement and enthusiasm for Kamala Harris's speech. Rachel Maddow on MSNBC said the following.
All right, you will remember where you were when you heard this speech tonight from the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris.
That is true. I remember where I was. I was doubled over the toilet because I felt really nauseous. Just kidding. Here, let me play the actual clip.
All right, you will remember where you were when you heard this speech tonight from the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, really introducing herself to the nation, speaking as much to Republicans and independents as she was to the Democrats who were nominating her tonight, asking Americans to remember how great their country is and to fight for its values. You're going to remember where you were on this night. This is an inflection point in history.
Couple things I want to clear up there. By the way, first, can we stop using inflection point in history? That is the most overused phrase by the Democrat Party. Joe Biden uses that every time he speaks. Folks, I truly believe we're at an inflection point in our nation's history. There have been so many inflection points, and an inflection point is a huge change. So if we were at an inflection point last year when Joe Biden said we were, and we changed course, and now we're at an inflection point again, we're changing course again, it means we're just going back the way that we thought. We're not. If Kamala Harris is elected, that's not an inflection point. That's the status quo. That's staying the course. Donald Trump getting elected after Barack Obama, that was an inflection point. We totally did a 180 and said, oh, let's make America great again after 4 years of destructive Obama policies. Then in 2020, during COVID, we did have another inflection point because it was a total change and a reversal back to Obama 2.0 via Joe Biden. Now, if Kamala Harris gets elected, that's not an inflection point. What would truly be an inflection point would be Donald Trump returning to office. And with the announcement today at 2 o'clock where RFK throws his weight behind him, I think we're closer and closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to that happening. But Rachel Maddow wants you to know that this was a historic event. You'll always remember where you were when Kamala Harris was nominated by her party. Also, fun fact, that's a lie. Kamala Harris was never nominated by her party. Joe Biden was. Kamala Harris received 0 votes. Kamala Harris and I, fun fact, received the same number of votes in the Democrat primary this year. Kamala Harris got 0 votes. Mark Kaye also got 0 votes. This pencil on my desk received the same number of votes as Kamala Harris did for the Democratic nomination in 2024. She won no primaries. She won no votes. She had no strong support. Joe Biden was the nominee until he wasn't. And all these delegates, they got a phone call and they were told to march on into Chicago full of joy and vote for Kamala Harris. Throw your delegates behind Kamala Harris. It doesn't matter that nobody voted for them. It doesn't matter that she's not the actual winner. It doesn't matter. You know what? Here's what we'll do. Show up at Chicago, give your delegates to Kamala, and we'll bring in Beyonce to sing for you. That's what these people were told. And they lived up to their end of the bargain, but guess who forgot? Guess who forgot to book Beyonce for night 4 of the convention? So Kamala Harris legitimately is not the Democrat nominee. But she stood on stage yesterday and she was happy, thrilled to accept.
I know there are people of various political views watching tonight, and I want you to know I promise to be a president for all Americans. You can always trust me to put country above party and self.
By the way, this was not only a lackluster speech that was devoid of any kind of passion and or resonating message or policy position. It was a rehash. I mean, I will be a president for all Americans. How many times have we heard that? We've heard Joe Biden say it. We've heard Barack Obama say it. It's the same Democrat talking points that we get over and over and over again. What we didn't get that aha, wow, on your feet moment that made real Democrat liberals excited for the future and Republicans shake and quake in their boots. Barack Obama, and I talk about this all the time, Barack Obama back in 2008, Barack Obama stood up at the DNC and he gave a speech that made Republican strategists and pundits go, oh, snap. John McCain is toast. John McCain is toast and Sarah Palin is not going to help him at one bit. Barack Obama sold the nation. He sold Democrats on the fact that he should be the guy, and he sold Republicans on the fact that they needed to pack it in because they were done. They did not have the right candidate to beat Barack Obama. He was good at what he did. He had an impassioned speech. He had a solid message. He delivered it well. It was memorable and it resonated. Kamala Harris, I don't even remember, other than the gumbo she cooked in the flats of San Francisco with her Indian mom and sister after her daddy dipped out. Otherwise, I don't even really remember what she said because she didn't say anything. It was more platitudes. It was more empty promises. It was more we need joy. And it was more Donald Trump is horrible. Donald Trump is bad. Donald Trump is awful. Don't vote for him or he'll destroy the country, take away your abortions, and he will arrest people just for writing negative news stories about him. He'll put his political prisoners in office. Again, in prison. By the way, there's some things that as a Democrat, you were never, ever going. You are never, ever going to succeed in trying to take credit for or explain. You're never. If you're Kamala Harris, you will never win on the border. It's a lost issue. It was a lost issue when you refused to go. It was a lost issue when you sat here in Jacksonville, Florida, when somebody asked you, are you visiting the border? And you cackled, not today, which is one of, I think, do I have that? I may have that actually somewhere. Maybe I don't know. I'll find it later. But she never went to the border. She never took it seriously. She never actually wanted to fix the problem. She never wanted to do any work. When a busload of migrants, illegal immigrants, showed up at the Naval Observatory on her front lawn, where she stays with Doug Emhoff, when Governor Abbott from Texas sent a bus to the Naval Observatory and dumped these illegals on her front lawn, she turned them away. She said, "Get them out of here. I don't want these people here. Of course not. Not on my lawn. Send them back to Texas where I don't have to think about them or look at them or smell them or feed them or clothe them or any of that stuff." It wasn't until Greg Abbott and our own governor, Ron DeSantis, started using airplanes and buses to take these illegals from the border and deposit them into the center of blue cities that anybody even took notice. They didn't do anything about it, but they took notice. And that's when Mayor Adams, and that's when, Gretchen Whitmer, that's when all of these people in all of these urban areas that were getting inundated, that's when they started calling the White House. But the White House still refused to do anything because they had a plan. And their plan was to open the border wide, let these people in, grant them amnesty, and tell them all, welcome to the Democrat Party. And nobody was going to stop them from making that plan a reality. That's the one plan they had that they were going to execute. Everything else, they didn't seem to care about. That was one of her big lies. It was a lackluster speech, and I disagree with Rachel Maddow that you'll remember where you were. There are speeches I've heard from Democrats and Republicans, and I remember where I was. That's not going to be one of them. Chris Cuomo, who I guess, man, getting fired from CNN may be the best thing that ever happened to Chris Cuomo because it really opened up his mind. And he really started to see the world in another light. He started to see the world for what it actually is. And he wasn't fooled at all by Kamala Harris's speech. And he reported as such from the floor of the DNC.
Yes, Kamala Harris talked about immigration. But excusing the situation of the status quo as being a function of one bill not getting allowed to pass by Trump is not going to be satisfying, not to independent voters, not for people who study the issue.
And that is the big problem. It's those pesky independent voters. Kamala Harris didn't have to preach to the choir. She did. She came out and told her gumbo story, and those people ate it up. I mean, not the actual gumbo. They ate up. They loved it. All those delegates, all those people that crammed themselves into that hall to see Beyonce, they'll vote for Kamala Harris, concert or no concert. Those are the chosen people. They are operatives of the Democrat Party. They're there. They will walk through hell or high water. They will trip over piles of poop on the streets of San Francisco to get to their polling place so that they can vote for Kamala Harris probably multiple times. They're in it. But it's those independent voters. It's those undecideds. Those are the people that they need to convince. Those are the people that they need to bring over to their side. Those are the people whose help they need to win the election. So CNN asked them, did this speech by Kamala Harris win you over to her side?
She wasn't clear enough on the policies. She did speak a lot of her personal history, which was great. But I still don't feel like she's ready. I feel like more so she should wait. I don't want to, per se, vote for someone that is a backup.
Oh, burn. I don't want to vote for someone who's a backup. I feel more so after her speech. I have more of a feeling that she should wait. She talked about her story. She talked about her life, her personal life. Well, that was great. But she didn't talk about policy. She didn't say how she was going to do these great things for me. She's going to bring down the cost of housing. How? She's going to build more houses. How? She's going to make things affordable again. How are you going to do that? You're going to secure the border. How? And why? Why have you not done it already? Why have you, what really would be the question? The hell have you been doing for the last 3.5 years? Absolutely nothing. So now Kamala Harris is out there trying to convince these undecided voters. And that, for those of you who are listening to the podcast and not watching the live stream, was a black middle-aged man from Allentown, Pennsylvania. A black male voter from a swing state, the single most important swing state in this election, Pennsylvania. Why? Because whoever wins Pennsylvania wins Pennsylvania Avenue. And that black male voter from Allentown, Pennsylvania said, I'm not voting for the backup. I'm voting for Donald Trump. And that is bad news for Kamala Harris, because if she needed to convince anybody at all that she was the right choice, it was the black male voter from Pennsylvania.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
I guess that guy ain't black. Sorry, I was assuming his racial background just by look. I won't do that. I won't make that mistake. I won't make that mistake again. Which brings us to Donald Trump and his major announcement here in just a minute. But first, before we get to Donald Trump and his major announcement, I just noticed we got a super chat on YouTube, and I did want to take a moment to say thank you to Cesar Garcia. Caesar, thank you for the $20 super chat and the message, "You are the best, Mark." Caesar, right back at you, buddy. You too are I would say we are the best. And if you want to leave a super chat on YouTube, just know we are independent right now. I am about as independent as they come. I'm an independent broadcaster. I have ties to no one. No corporate entity owns Mark Kaye. I don't have to listen or conform to any consultant. I don't have to do battle with dementors or people who think they know better than I do, which, by the way, is a large... The number of people who think they know better than I do, that is a large number of people. The number of people who actually do, very small. That's a very small and select group of people. And it just boils down to my wife. That's really it is. But anyway, back to the point. We are independent. So any of your super chats, we've been getting a lot of Rumble rants as well. We got one from CA Smirk earlier today. Thank you so much for that. And of course, we also, we're not just a charity. We're not just looking for handouts here. We also like to offer you something too. And we have a fantastic line of clothing that was inspired by Donald Trump's great quote from the RNC.
America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, brighter, happier, stronger, freer, greater, and more united than ever before.
Yeah, and we've created a whole bunch of clothing items. Oh, in fact, just before the show today, I looked down, I got an order in. And it was a huge order. I'm not going to tell the guy's name. All right, maybe I will. Maybe I'll tell you his first time, but we got a huge order right before the show today. And it was, let me just tell you what this guy bought. This was amazing. It was from Rebecca. Let me tell you what Rebecca bought. She bought the signature Mark Kaye rope cap, which you see on my head right now. She brought the signature Blue Star shirt, a Brighter Future t-shirt, a Brighter Future camo tee, which is this one right here, this is one of my favorites. It's one of the softest. Oh, she bought two of those in two different sizes. So she's going to have a couple twins running around in her home. But if you go to markkaysshop.com, you can get any and all of our apparel and our offerings. We have mugs. We've got decals. A lot of people want Mark Kaye Saves the Republic decals. There's baby onesies because, we're not the abortion for all party over here. We're not the people that have, we celebrate babies. So we offer them, you can get a MAGA King baby onesie in a myriad of different colors. There's hoodies, there's Patriot gear. If you're a Patriot in good standing, if you've been a Patriot for a long time and you want to wear your patriotism proudly on a hoodie or a tank top or a t-shirt, just know that we have you covered both literally and figuratively. And one of my favorite things, by the way, it's sold out now, darn it. It's the signature artisan Mark Kaye apron. But we'll get those back in stock because they're amazing. MarkKayShop.com.
America's future.
MarkKayShop.com. And if you don't forget, use coupon code Merry Christmas and you'll get 10% off your order. In fact, Rebecca saved over $20 on her order because she used coupon code Merry Christmas. So if you want to save $20, all you got to do is buy $200 worth of stuff. Type in that coupon code. Bada bing, bada boom. We are good to go. And we will get that stuff out to you ASAP. All right, let's get to Donald Trump, shall we? Donald Trump's really, it's amazing. The more we look at this situation, I don't think we've ever had two more polar opposite candidates running for office than we have with Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Everything about these two people is exactly the opposite. I mean, everything from their heritage, their geography, their politics, their experience, everything is exactly the opposite. On one hand, you have Donald Trump, a wiser, older, experienced businessman who spent most of his life in the private sector and only when it was absolutely necessary jumped into politics where he dominated. Then on the other side, you have Kamala Harris, who hasn't worked an honest day since she was at McDonald's. And even then, I don't know how hard she was working. I don't know what her job was. I don't know what her task was. I don't know if she was ever employee of the month at Mickey D's. But Kamala Harris never worked in the private sector. She went right into government work, and she stayed there her whole life. And for someone who's worked in the government your entire life, you'd think you'd have more things to brag about. You'd have more items on your resume. You'd think that somebody who ever since they graduated law school has been working for the government could point to a single accomplishment. But she can't, not as a prosecutor. I mean, positive, helpful accomplishments that do good for people and don't harm them. As a prosecutor, she's got none other than arresting a bunch of black guys and putting them into prison. The same black people that she now wants to get their vote from. Then she's got her time as a senator where she didn't really do anything except have an unsuccessful run for president. So they picked her up as the DEI hire and made her vice president. And now somehow she stands on stage to get the nomination. So you've got all this real world experience at building something, no real world experience at building anything. Amazing accomplishments in a short time as a public figure and leader in the government, no accomplishments after a lifetime in government. I mean, even look, Donald Trump's from New York, the financial capital of the globe, and Kamala Harris is from California, where they smoke pot and eat hummus. I mean, you got two very different people running for office. Donald Trump is a capitalist, born and bred. He has built his entire empire as a capitalist, teaching capitalism, practicing capitalism, profiting from capitalism, using the loopholes and the tools provided to him and every other American as a capitalist. And he has not only built a $1 billion fortune, but some of the most beautiful buildings in New York City, some of the most beautiful buildings in Chicago, golf courses and other businesses around the globe. He's got vineyards. He's got, places in Ireland and in Europe. He's got all the Mar-a-Lago and Doral here in Florida. He has employed hundreds of thousands of people in his time and also created, let's not forget, for all you union workers in the entertainment industry, a long-running television show which also employed thousands of other people and brought a massive amount of revenue to NBC with The Apprentice. He's a massive success, that guy. And then you've got Kamala Harris, who just wants to spend money she doesn't have, tax the rich, and federalize everything, a card-carrying Marxist communist. And we know that because the New York Post wrote so on their cover, and the New York Post never lies. New York Post, they're the only paper this day in this day and age that you can actually trust. Communist versus capitalist, New York versus California. You've got private sector billionaire versus public sector. I don't know how much money she has, but probably let's be honest, she's a millionaire. All those Democrats are. So you've never had two more polar opposite candidates. And the most glaring thing about them, or the thing that really strikes me as how opposite they are, is that Donald Trump understands the importance of speaking to the people, the importance of making his case to the voters. Not just the importance, but really, it's almost like you have a duty to do it. If you're going to run for office, if you're going to ask people to vote for you for president, isn't it your obligation to explain who you are, what you think, what you're planning to do, and how you're going to help these folks? Donald Trump thinks it is, and he takes every single opportunity to do so. In fact, not only was he live on Truth Social, debunking the myths and fact-checking Kamala Harris's speech in real time, not only was he doing that, but he was also calling into Fox News immediately after Kamala Harris wrapped up, and he talked to Brett Baer and Martha McCallum.
Are you ready to debate Kamala Harris on September 10th, given what you heard tonight? Well, number one debate on September 4th at Fox, and she turned it down. Because, as you know, Brett, I was willing to debate with you and Martha. Well, I was going to debate on September 4th. She turned it down. And I'm willing to debate on, I don't like ABC. I think ABC is probably the worst of the group. But I'm willing to do ABC. I was willing to do CNN with Joe Biden, and you saw what happened there. I mean, CNN does not treat me or Republicans very good. But I was willing to do it because it was the only way I could get to debate him and ask him how that turned out. But look, I am willing to debate, and I think we should do much more than one debate. But you know better than anybody, I'm ready, willing, and able because I told you yes, and she turned you down.
Donald Trump is ready, willing, and able to go anywhere and talk to anybody and put himself in harm's way and walk into unfriendly fire to get his message to the people. It's that important. I'm willing. I was going to debate Kamala Harris on Fox News, Brett. You know that. We scheduled it. It was all good to go. She pulled out at the last minute. She's scared to go on to Fox News. You know where I went? I went to CNN. I went to CNN to debate Joe Biden because that's the only gig I could get. But I knew it was important and I had some things to say and I said, so be it. I will go to CNN. I'm not afraid to go to CNN, the network that he calls fake news, the network that has attacked him relentlessly and lied about him relentlessly since he entered the race back in 2015. CNN, he went there and he dominated and he won and he destroyed Joe Biden's political career. I mean, Joe Biden actually had a big hand in that, but Donald Trump was helping. Donald Trump said, hey, Joe, here's a cliff. Would you like to jump off? And Joe said, sure. It was like the Roadrunner. It was like the Roadrunner and the Coyote. And now Kamala Harris won't agree to a Fox debate, won't go to Fox to debate Donald Trump, will agree to an ABC debate for now. She'll agree to an ABC debate for now on September 10th in Philadelphia. Yours truly will be there reporting live. But you know what she hasn't done? Agreed to a third debate. She has not yet agreed to a third debate. She has not said she'll do that NBC debate. And Donald Trump's like, I'll go anywhere. I'll go to the most unfriendly. I hate ABC. They hate me. Donald Trump is suing ABC for defamation. He's suing George Snuffleupagus for defamation and libel. But you know what he's willing to do? Walk in those doors of the defendant in his case and make his case to the American people about why he should be president. And Kamala Harris is not. She's not even willing to talk to friendly people. She's not willing to talk to ABC, CNN, MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, who was slobbering over her speech yesterday. This is an inflection point. You'll always remember where you were. Rachel Maddow would be the easiest, most softball interview Kamala Harris could get. And she won't even talk to Rachel Maddow. Donald Trump will pick up the phone and call into Fox News and talk about anything. And so much so, by the way, that they have to cut him off. Listen to this is at the end of the broadcast. Brett Baer and Martha McCallum were talking to Donald Trump, and they were like, we got to go. Oh, wait, hold on, wait, I got it here. Hold on, here's the one-man show, folks. Hang on, let me go to my downloads. It was the last video that I downloaded, I think. Yes.
But I think that
never mind. Listen, here's the deal. So Donald Trump was talking to Brett Baer and he was talking to Martha McCallum and they were like, sir, I'm sorry. We love you. We'd love to talk to you some more, but we're out of time. We got to go. And they cut him off. They said goodbye. Gutfeld was coming on next. So Greg Gutfeld mentioned it at the top of his broadcast and told Donald Trump to call him. And guess what Donald Trump did?
Hey, Donald, you have my number. Call me.
I don't know. I think we got to pay you a lot more money.
Hey, Mr. President, I'm live now. Say hello to my audience. So don't say anything that'll get you in trouble. All right.
I don't mind. At this point, what difference does it make? We're doing well. We're leading in the polls.
All right, Mr. President.
8 points down.
Yeah.
And they said he has to get out, and they basically staged a coup.
Yeah.
And let's all see how it happens. But I think we're doing very well.
All right.
We're going to do very well.
All right, Mr. P. I gotta go.
Have a good time.
I see ya. Bye-bye.
No, Kamala Harris would never do that. Kamala Harris could not do, she would never, she would be petrified with fear to call up a live television show and talk to the host on the phone. No other politician that I know of would ever do that. It's never been done in history. Donald Trump has been doing it since day one. Donald Trump, and I tell this story, in fact, I wrote about this story. This is one of my favorite stories from my book, Go Trump Yourself, 10 Ways to Live Like Trump in a Joe Biden Economy. And one of my favorite stories is how Donald Trump, I worked with a guy named Joe. He worked on this piddly little news station in Central Florida. And Joe was the morning show host on this piddly little news station in Central Florida. And he got an interview with Donald Trump on election day. It was November and it was 2016 and the election, and Donald Trump called into his show and Donald Trump talked to him. And Joe had this interview. Now, inside radio, whenever you have an interview with a celebrity or something, what happens is you get on the caller ID their phone number. And so he saw the phone number on the caller ID, Donald Trump's cell phone, jotted it down or screenshotted it or whatever he did. And then the next day after Donald Trump won, 2:00 in the morning, like Donald Trump had won, it was 2:00 in the morning. Joe shows up the next day at 6 and he goes, I'm going to call that number and see if Donald Trump answers. Donald Trump answered the phone. Donald Trump answered the phone and my buddy Joe said, Mr. President, thank you so, congratulations. Do you have 5 minutes for an interview? And Donald Trump said, sure. And that's how my buddy Joe got the first interview with President-elect Donald Trump. It was because Donald Trump answers the phone. It's because Donald Trump answers the call. Donald Trump will call into Greg Gutfeld's show and he will say what needs to be said. He will talk to the American people. Donald Trump will call into Greg Gutfeld's show and he will say what he's thinking, what he's doing, what the problems are with this country and how he plans to fix it. And so when Donald Trump did that yesterday, it wasn't shocking to anybody. It made this amazing viral moment. And I have to tell you, it was truly remarkable that after Kamala Harris spent 35 minutes talking about nothing and then ducking the press, she went through the entire DNC without a single interview, without a single sit down, without a single press conference. Her running mate, same thing. JD Vance has been out every single day answering questions. JD Vance has been out every single day doing press conferences and rallies and meeting people and trying to secure votes. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have been nowhere. And that's why Donald Trump will win. That's why Donald Trump went to the border yesterday, even though there was a madman on the loose who had made a credible threat that he was going to assassinate Donald Trump 1 month, just 1 month off of his first attempted assassination when he was in Butler, Pennsylvania, he got shot in the ear. It's been just over a month. Donald Trump was told, hey, listen, I know you want to go to the border. I know you want to go to Cochise County. I know you want to do all that stuff. But look, there is a madman out there. We have a credible threat that this old guy, this 66-year-old whack job, has some priors. He has a DUI. He's got a hit and run charge against him. We have it on pretty good authority that this guy is going to try to shoot you if you come to Arizona, if you go to the border. And Donald Trump went anywhere. He said, beef up security, get the snipers out there, get the drones in the air. I'm going down there. I made promises to people. I have to make a plan. I have to tell everybody why the border is so important and what my plan is to stop it. There were families there of murdered young girls, American girls who were murdered by illegals who came across the border and did just the worst, strangled them, raped them, shoved their dead, lifeless bodies into pipes in the ground. Just awful stuff. And these parents were talking about it. But at the same time, Donald Trump decided his own safety wasn't as important as these people talking to the American people and getting their message out. Because 4 more years of Kamala Harris in charge of the border means 4 more years of parents mourning their children who were killed and raped and murdered and choked to death by illegal immigrants and gang members coming in from South America, because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas and all the rest of them refused to do their sworn duty to protect the United States of America from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Instead, they're allowing the foreign enemies to just bleed right through, and they're allowing the domestic enemies to ruin this country from within. And Donald Trump doesn't want it. Donald Trump, by the way, not only is Donald Trump not afraid of going into the lion's den or facing his prosecutors and persecutors head on, Donald Trump is man enough to mend fences when necessary. Donald Trump understands that his own personal feelings, his own personal thoughts about somebody, insults in the past, bad blood, he understands all of that is nowhere near as important as the United States of America. And if he needs to make amends with or forgive somebody or come to some kind of, if he has to have a conversation with one of his sworn enemies in order to save this country, then he'll do so. And one of those is Governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, who it always baffles me when people, they're so quick. They're so quick to attack Donald Trump. There were all these people on X talking about how Donald Trump should not be attacking Governor Brian Kemp, how Donald Trump went into Atlanta and started talking about Brian Kemp and how Brian Kemp it was weak and didn't help him and let the election be stolen, and Brad Raffensperger didn't do his job and they're derelict, and Donald Trump tried to, made a perfect phone call and they didn't come to his aid and they were backstabbers and yada, yada, yada. All this stuff. And it was true. But Brian Kemp and Donald Trump have now buried the hatchet and rededicated themselves to defeating communism under Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And they'll do it in the great state of Georgia and all the other states as well.
Well, I just saw Brian on a very good man. Did you ever hear of a man named Sean Hannity? And he was interviewed by Sean Hannity. And he was very nice, and he said he wants Trump to win, and he's going to work with me 100%, and I think we're going to have a very good relationship with Brian Kemp, and that was on just before you people went on with that speech that we just listened to.
And RFK Jr.?
It just happened, and as far as RFK, I've had a great relationship with him over the years. I respect him. He respects me. I have no idea if he's going to endorse me. I know he's got a news conference. We happen to be in the same state. Arizona will be in the same state, but in quite different parts of the state. But it's possible we will be meeting tomorrow, and we'll be discussing it. He said, look, he was treated very unfairly by the Democrats. He would have beaten Joe Biden in a Democrat primary.
Yeah, anyway, and that's where I think that's the clip where they cut him off. So Brian Kemp and Donald Trump, they're BFFs again. They're best buds. And they are ready and willing and able to take the message to the voters in Georgia, which means you're going to see something that probably you didn't think you were going to see before, and that is Donald Trump and Brian Kemp at a rally together. We thought those days were long gone, but that's probably going to happen. And it's important because Georgia's an important state. It's important that the election have integrity in Georgia this year. It needs to make sure that we have a safe and secure election in Georgia this year, because that's the only way that we're going to secure the presidency. And Kamala Harris, she doesn't do that. She doesn't make amends with people. She doesn't really talk to people. This is a shadow candidacy, and they're going to try to keep her hidden and out of the limelight until November. And they could do it. It could potentially happen. Hopefully it won't. But you never know. That RFK, by the way, we are 1 hour. Look at this. I can't believe that hour went fast, huh? We are 1 hour away from the RFK Jr. press conference. RFK Jr., by the way, is not a schlup. This guy has a large contingent of supporters. He has there's at least 1 million, if not more people that probably would have cast a ballot for RFK Jr. He was polling not in the double digits, but in the single digits as a percentage point. He didn't have enough of a following, or he didn't have enough of a base of support to qualify for any of these debates, even though these qualifications are totally arbitrary. Like the Fox News debate, the ABC News debate, the NBC News debate. They're coming up with their own rules and regulations. Donald Trump runs the RNC. So if Donald Trump agrees, everyone agrees. And RFK Jr., he didn't meet the criteria or whatever. So he's looking around and he's going, you know what? I have two options. I could keep moving forward, or I could drop out of the race and throw my support behind Donald Trump. And what does that tell you? What does that tell you? If you're looking around and saying, I have two options, keep running or drop out and support Donald Trump, that tells you that this is a guy that understands that losing the election is not the worst thing that could happen as a candidate. Kamala Harris winning is the worst thing that could happen as a candidate. If you're in a competition, and that's what Donald Trump's all about too. And that's how most voters need to think as well too. I always say, don't vote for Donald Trump. Do not vote for Donald Trump. Vote for America. Vote for you. Vote for your family. Vote for the issues that are most important to you. Vote for your personal safety. Vote for your bank account. Vote for your retirement. Vote for your grocery bill. Vote for your health care. Vote for your Social Security. Vote for your police officers. Whatever it is, vote for that. Don't vote for Donald Trump. Don't vote because you think Donald Trump's a cool guy or he's funny or you like the red hats. Don't vote for Donald Trump because of the funny names he called, like a Comrade Kamala or Sleepy Joe or any. Don't vote for Donald Trump. Vote for what Donald Trump will do for you. Vote for what Donald Trump will stand for, what he will fight for to get you. And then look at the alternative. And Kamala Harris will not fight for anyone but Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris will not fight for anybody but the Democrat Party. Kamala Harris will fight for the deep state, and she will continue to fight to protect her allies, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi. She'll fight to protect all of those individuals who've been running her party for the last 20 to 30 to 40 years, and she'll do it because that's the trade-off. The deal is you get to be the nominee. We'll do everything we can to get you elected, but if you get elected, you are saving us. You are saving us, and you are prosecuting and persecuting our enemies, and you will do what we tell you because they control you. Nobody controls Donald Trump except for you. And RFK Jr. understands that and realizes that. He knows that if it's RFK, Donald Trump, or Kamala Harris, the worst outcome is Kamala Harris. And if an RFK win does not look like it's in the cards, which it doesn't, then it's better to have Donald Trump win because Kamala Harris would be disastrous for the entire republic. That's what makes me think this is a solid guy. This is a guy who's not in it for himself. This is a guy who actually cares. This is a guy who's trying to do the right thing for the United States of America. Abandoned by his party, discarded by the Democrat Party, RFK Jr., which, by the way, K stands for Kennedy, as in Robert F. Kennedy Sr., as in John F. Kennedy, as in Edward/Teddy Chappaquiddick Kennedy. The Kennedys have been a dominant force. They have been an iconic family. They have been, a dynasty in Democrat politics since the early of last century. Joe Kennedy was filthy rich and very powerful, and he set up the rest of his family to follow in his footsteps. And Robert F. Kennedy was thrown out by the party that his family built because it's no longer the party of his family anymore. And this is a guy that solidly says, Kamala Harris is the wrong choice. I would rather sacrifice my chance of becoming president than ever see her in the White House. And so in just a minute, in about 45 minutes or so, but in about an hour now, let's face it, it's going to be later than that. The speakers will start at like 2 o'clock and we'll bring you some of them. But in about 2 hours, he's going to say, I've withdrawn from the race. He's filed paperwork already in Arizona and a couple of other places. It looks like he's polling at 4%, according to Quinnipiac. Kamala Harris is at 48%. Donald Trump's at 45%. So if that 4% goes to RFK Jr., which it all won't, that's a boon for Donald Trump. I know there's other polls that have Donald Trump way ahead. And if that 4% goes to Donald Trump, it puts him way, way ahead. He understands the stakes. He understands that Kamala Harris winning would be devastating. It'd be the end of our republic. And he doesn't want to have that on his shoulders. If he steals 10,000 votes from Donald Trump in Pennsylvania and Donald Trump loses Pennsylvania by 9,000 votes, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would never be able to live with himself for his hand in what he did to America. So he's not only withdrawing from the race, but we believe as a special guest of Donald Trump, we believe that he will be throwing his support behind Donald Trump at 2 o'clock today in Arizona. And that's huge because, as I said before, it's not just the votes. It's not just the people. It's what that stands for. Joe Rogan, for example. Joe Rogan gave RFK Jr. a glowing recommendation. Joe Rogan, who doesn't get political, but also gets political. Joe Rogan, who loves the same kind of people that Donald Trump loves. Joe Rogan, who goes to the UFC matches, is best buds with Dana White, just like Donald Trump is. If his man removes himself, extricates himself from the running and says, please support Donald Trump, I would imagine that Joe Rogan would have to consider supporting Donald Trump. If any If any other loud and powerful and influential libertarian or independent or anyone else who was anti-Trump and anti-Harris but pro-RFK Jr., if any one of them really truly believes that RFK Jr. was the right man for the job and has the right, the right idea for the country at heart, then they will hopefully follow him as well. It's really interesting too, because you've got RFK Jr., who is basically a Democrat, now siding with the Republican candidate. And it's powerful. It's a stark contrast to what they tried to do last night at the DNC with Adam Kinzinger. Adam Kinzinger, you want to talk about low testosterone individuals. You want to talk about getting a bunch of dudes out there who don't have the amount of testosterone that Republicans do.
Men out there who might not be the sort of testosterone-laden, gun-toting kind of guy who wants to listen to Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, they bring out Adam Kinzinger, and they lowered the microphone because he's not the tallest guy. They bring out Adam Kinzinger, and he rolls up to the podium, and he starts talking about how horrible Republicans are. He starts saying, I am a Republican. Okay, debatable. And my fellow Republicans are awful people. I'm paraphrasing, but basically that's it. My fellow Republicans have forgotten their morals. My fellow Republicans have abandoned the values of this country. My fellow Republicans have gone in with a weak, lying scam artist. My fellow Republicans, blah, 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 blah. And he's getting all these applause lines, and CNN's looking at him saying we should probably renew his contract. And what people don't realize is that Adam Kinzinger going to the DNC, that's not a show of strength. That's a show of weakness. It's easy to walk on stage at the DNC and say, hey, you guys are right and my party's wrong. Of course, you're going to get a hero's welcome. What would be braver would be for him to walk out on the stage of the DNC and say, hey, you know what? You guys are all wrong and here's why. But he didn't do that because he's one of those low testosterone kind of guys.
Men out there who might not be the sort of testosterone-laden, gun-toting kind of guy who wants to listen to Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, and Hulk Hogan would have thrown him out of the RNC if he even... I mean, we already basically threw him out of the party. He's not a Republican. He's not an elected official. He lost his seat. He lost his seat in Illinois. He's no longer any kind of professional political operative. He's just Adam Kinzinger, who used to be somebody until he decided to turn his back on the Republican Party. And I started talking about this a little bit yesterday, too, with George W. Bush. It's really in stark contrast, and this is a problem with Republicans. Republicans do not age, they do not transform. They do not realize that you have to adapt or die. They don't realize that there is an organic growth and transformation that has to occur. Otherwise, you just become stale and old and petrified, and eventually they just throw you out. The Democrats of today are not the Democrat Party of even Robert F. Kennedy. They're not the Democrat Party of John F. Kennedy. They have abandoned every moral value and concept of the working man and patriotism in America that party ever held. Now they're just these angry, pandering folks who will tell kids that they can be any gender they want and offer up free abortions outside their convention, and they will side with the forces of evil and the terrorists in the Middle East, and they will just keep wars raging in Eastern Europe and elsewhere so that they can pad their own bank accounts with all of this money they're making when the stock prices for Northrop Grumman and Boeing continue to go up based on the military contracts that they've approved with, I'd like to point out, a tie-breaking vote from Kamala Harris. That's what the Democrat Party is all about now. It's all about money and control. And the Republican Party has also changed. It's no longer about apologizing to the media when they accuse you of something you may or may not have done. It's no longer about running and hiding from any and all attacks because the bad publicity would destroy your career. Now, it's all about being combative, not being complacent. It's all about having a backbone. It's all about fighting back. It's all about in-your-face politics and saying, you're wrong, we're right. And if you attack me, I will come back 10 times harder. That's the new Republican Party. And there's a lot of Republicans out there who just don't want any part of it. They don't have the stomach for it. Adam Kinzinger is one. George W. Bush is another. That's why there was a pretty solid rumor that he might have appeared It was believable to me.
I'm sure you guys have read all the headlines, all the stuff on social media about who's going to be at the DNC. Is it going to be Beyonce? Is it going to be Taylor Swift? Here's what I hear from sources. If it's going to be anyone, it would be Beyonce, Taylor Swift, and George W. Bush speaking. Those would be the heavy hitters, and it could happen. I'm just saying.
Those three are people that I would have actually believed. That's why I was sold. Beyonce seemed the most probable. I don't know about T Swift. I think she's on tour somewhere. And George W. Bush. I 100% could have seen W strolling on out there because in 2020, he turned his back on the Republican Party as well, and he supported Joe Biden for president. He and his wife and everyone else in the party. Look, you can't claim to be a Republican if you're not willing to change with the party. If you still think this is the Republican Party of old, then you have no place in it. We need people who are willing to fight for America, because the reason the Democrats were able to go so far left so fast is because there weren't Republicans standing in their way. There weren't Republicans grabbing them and yanking them back to the center. There weren't Republicans smacking them around saying, "The hell you are." We had Republicans like Adam Kinzinger. And that's why we're in this situation where we are today. Luckily, we have RFK Jr., who was in about 40 minutes or so is going to make an announcement that he's withdrawing from the race. And we're going to find out that Donald Trump will be getting his full support and endorsement, I hope. Speaking of supports and endorsements, let me just thank Psych Mike 13. Mark, your podcast is the best part of my day. You should put the wall of catrons back up. Psych Mike, as soon as we get a larger space, we will definitely do that. That is a Rumble rant. I appreciate that Rumble rant. I can't share it on my screen other than holding up my phone. But you know what I can do? I can share this super chat from Jennifer Lawson, who said, "Love this show. Good job." Jennifer Lawson, thank you for the $20 YouTube super chat. We really appreciate that. And like I said, every single dollar that we get goes right back into the show. I want to be able to be here for you every single day. I want to be able to create content for you every single day. I want to be able to interpret what's going on and let you know the truth and decipher the fact from the fiction. I want to be here for you all the way up to the election and into the next administration, whether it's Donald Trump, hopefully, fingers crossed, or especially if it's Kamala Harris. Either way the chips fall, either way the cookie crumbles, I want to be here to help you and give you the information in an entertaining and informative and an inspirational way, because it's all about inspiration. You have to, first of all, I'll give you a breakdown of my philosophy when it comes to political speech, and you can then agree or disagree. And if you agree, you can throw a super chat at a brother. I'm not going to argue. You can go to the Mark Kaye shop and buy yourself a lovely t-shirt or a Mark Kaye signature hat, which, by the way, this hat, we're selling a lot of these. And it's not just because I wear it. It's because it's a very nice hat. It's slick. It's got that kind of luxe feel to it. It's got the cord, which is very elegant. It's very, what's the new trend? Demure. Very chic, very demure. And it's got the Mark Kaye signature logo on it. I love this hat. A lot of other people love that hat. That's why they're scooping it up. So if you don't want to send a super chat or a Rumble rant, I wholeheartedly get it. I would appreciate it. But then go to the shop and get yourself something nice, or get something nice for some other caterer that you love, who you think would enjoy a t-shirt or a hat or a mug or a decal or all of them. Because the more you spend, the more you save when you use coupon code Merry Christmas at markkaysshop.com. But one thing I want to say about the philosophy is, and this is true of any, this is why our show was so popular. This is why the podcast is so popular. This is why people keep coming back and saying we really enjoy it, because entertainment has to be the first thing. Donald Trump understands this. You have to entertain people. If you don't entertain people, they're not going to pay attention to you. Once you have their attention, you can inform them. This is how it works. Entertainment is the ultimate. You're getting a little free lesson in Mark Kaye content creation. Entertainment is key. You've got to entertain people, because if you're not entertaining, you lose their attention. And if you don't have their attention, you can't inform them. And the information then comes secondary. And then you have to inspire them. You can't just give them information that's going to make them feel downtrodden and depressed and demoralized and like they want to throw in the towel. You've got to lift them up and inspire them and say, look, all these bad things may be true, but here's the good news on the horizon. Because if you inspire them, they will come back when you inevitably have to go do something else, like eat lunch or pick up. I couldn't do this 24/7. I got to sleep sometime too. There's nature calls from time to time. So that's basically what it's all about. And all of these other shows, all of these other networks, when you see the ratings plummet for CNN, or when you catch yourself listening to the radio going, God, I just can't take that anymore, it's because those shows aren't entertaining. They're trying to inform you without entertaining you, or they're entertaining you and informing you, but they leave you totally uninspired. And nobody wants to waste their time listening to someone who's going to bring them down. That's my motto, at least. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I don't think, you know what? In fact, no, I'm not wrong. I'm 100% right. 99%. I'm 100% right 99% of the time. But like I said, I appreciate everyone being here. All right, listen, we're still about 45 minutes away from the big announcement, and I wanted to share. I've been teasing this all week, and I'm gonna play for you a couple of things. Number one, we had an interview with Lindsey Graham. No, not the senator from South Carolina. I wouldn't talk to that guy if you paid me. Lindsey Graham is the Patriot Barbie, and she had something happen to her a couple weeks ago, which I did an interview with her, and we put it on a podcast, but I wanted to bring it with you to you as well, because it's scary and it's hopeful, but it's an important lesson about where we still are in this country and where our social media and our media and everything else, where we still stand. And I'm going to bring you that here in just a minute in case you missed it. But also, I've been teasing all week these videos I shot back in 2016 about the DNC in Philadelphia. And the interesting thing about the DNC in Philadelphia is it was very similar to the DNC in Chicago. You had a split right down the middle of the Democrat Party. And whether they want to admit it or not, it happened in 2016 and it happened again in 2024. And it could be just as detrimental to Kamala Harris's campaign in 2024 as it was to Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016. And in 2024, the split down the middle was between the pro-Palestinian faction of the Democrat Party and the pro-Israel faction of the Democrat Party. And yesterday, there was more applause when Kamala Harris was praising Palestine and Hamas than when she was praising Israel. She said, we must protect our ally Israel, and people were like, yay. Mostly her husband, Doug Emhoff. And then she said, but at the same time, Hamas is a threat, but we've got to make sure that Palestine is safe and free. And the place erupted. The place just went bananas. And I imagine all the protesters outside were also going cray-cray. And that's going to be a problem for the Democrats, because you can't win an election if you don't have both of those factions voting for you. You cannot. It's one of the biggest divides, not just in American political history, but in history. The Israel-Palestine question, since Israel was created and hundreds of years before then, they've been battling in that area. And no one's going to bring peace to that area. Well, except Donald Trump, who did before he left. But back in 2016, it was Bernie Sanders versus Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton, she didn't do what Kamala Harris did, where she just had all the delegates handed to her. She went out and she got super delegates. I don't know if you remember this. And even though there were primaries, Bernie Sanders was a loser before it began. Bernie Sanders lost the primary in 2016 before it began because Hillary Clinton sewed up all of these super delegates. And so the Bernie bros and the Bernie supporters and all these other people, they were just furious, so mad. They crashed the convention in 2016. They marched right through the middle of it. They just totally disregarded Hillary Clinton. They denounced her candidacy, and they collectively spent the entire week trying to be disruptive as possible. And I took my camera and I went down to one of the parks where they set up, and I shot this video, which I found. This is me in 2016 with the Bernie bros who were dividing the Democrat Party in two. I hope you enjoy it.
All right, I'm here at City Hall. See? There it is. This guy's flag is upside down, but I don't want to tell him. I don't want to embarrass him. Are these Bernie masks?
Yes, they are.
How much are they?
$5.
$5? You know. Shouldn't they be free though?
What'd you say?
Shouldn't they be free?
Thank you.
No?
Thank you.
Yesterday, Hillary Clinton got the nomination.
I don't care. I can't vote for her. There's too many reasons to not vote for her. I can't do it no matter what he says.
All right, so who are you going to vote for in November?
Either Biden and Bernie, even if it doesn't count, or Jill Stein probably.
All right, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Hillary or Trump?
You can't scare me with Trump. That's the thing. You Trump is not a threat to me. My life is already at $0 and a ripped convertible top. It doesn't get less than that. I think Hillary would be worse than Trump.
So, Trump over Hillary.
We have to burn it down.
Are you Bernie or bust? Trump or Hillary, who's worse?
Hillary.
Really?
Trump talks stuff. Hillary has done stuff. She has way too many connections. She's evil. She's disgusting. She's deplorable.
The party started again.
It's like a party.
Now Bernie's to front and center. Let's go, Bernie, front and center the stage.
There's like a DJ and stuff.
We walked out yesterday. Because the lesser of two evils argument will only work as long as you believe that it will.
I don't think these are Bernie or bust guys. It's just a hunch. This is a onesie?
Yeah.
Where'd you get this?
Online.
Online, of course. Hillary or Trump?
Well, I think Hillary can accomplish more evil because she has more complicity in the administration and in Congress and Senate and whatnot.
So you're saying, so if the choice were just Hillary or Trump, who would you pick?
I would stay home.
I gotta head out because number one, it's hot as Hades. Number two, my battery's about to die. Just like Bernie's dreams of the presidency. Oh. I appreciate your support. I appreciate what you've done. But now it's time for us to all support Hillary Clinton for president of the United States. Now excuse me while I go throw up.
Yeah, so that was fun. I missed those days. But look, a lot of the sentiment you heard from those people, they're exactly the same. They're exactly the same. You have another situation here, and you have Kamala or Trump, and you saw back then they were like, Hillary is worse. Hillary's more complicit. The things Hillary has done, they're horrible, and she'll continue to do those kinds of things. Now you have Kamala Harris, who is almost the opposite of Hillary. She's done nothing. So now your choice is between Donald Trump, and we know what Donald Trump is capable of accomplishing. We know what Donald Trump has accomplished. We know what he wants to accomplish in the future, and we know that he has a pretty solid group of people who will help him accomplish whatever it is he says. And so these people have not gone anywhere. They're older. We're all 8 years older, but they still don't like Hillary Clinton. They still don't like the Democrat Party. They still don't trust the establishment. And Kamala Harris is the establishment. Kamala Harris stood on stage, and she stood on the stage where Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and all the rest of them came out and said, this is our gal. This is who we need. Oprah Winfrey stood up and said, we need Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris!
That is not going to win over those sweaty, pierced, tattooed folk that I talked to in the park back in 2016. They are not fallen for Oprah Winfrey singing Joy. They are still despondent, probably even more so. That whole I'm down to $0 and a ripped convertible top girl, I guarantee if she had $0 and a ripped convertible top back then, she has even less now. And fixing that convertible top would be ridiculously expensive, and there's no way she'll be able to afford a new car. Not at these interest rates. It's even worse than it was back then. And the choice is basically the same. A destructive woman who thinks that she is entitled to the job simply because it would be historic, because she wants you to sell you a bunch of platitudes, or a guy who's actually gotten stuff done his entire life and will continue to get stuff done his entire life. And that is Donald Trump. So that's where we are now. And I really feel like there's the same sense of displacement in the party. You have all of these, instead of the Bernie bros, now you've got all these pro-Palestinian protesters, and they're even crazier. They don't even care about the money. They don't even care about what their personal lifestyle is like. First of all, they're getting paid by George Soros and Iran. But second of all, they're just in it to break stuff. She said back then, she's like, hey, I'll just burn it down. I'll vote for Donald Trump. I'll stay home. I will burn it down before I vote for Hillary. These people will burn down the entire country before they let anybody, any Israel-loving, married to a Jewish man, woman, get into the White House and continue to feed money and weapons and resources to Benjamin Netanyahu so he can protect God's chosen people who they despise and are their sworn enemy. That is not going to happen. And it's going to be a tough road to hoe for Kamala Harris for not only the next 3 months, but also for the next 4 years. Donald Trump has it easy. I mean, this is the thing. When you are it's so much more difficult to be wishy-washy. It's so easy to be definitive. If you make a decision, making a decision is the best thing you can do, because once you've decided, you don't have to worry about it anymore. You take out all the questions. Like, for example, if when I said, look, I want to do this podcast every day at noon, I decided to do it. Boom. It took out all the questions. When am I doing the podcast? Every day at noon. Hey, can you meet me tomorrow at noon for lunch? No, why not? I'm doing the podcast. Why? I decided. Decision making is so simple. When you decide to get married to somebody, I'd like to get married to you. Would also like to get married to you. Great. We've made the decision. The rest of your life, think about what you don't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about dating or relationships or not having someone there when you need them. You don't have to worry about spending your life alone. You don't have to worry about who to go to parties with. I mean, none of that. So you don't have to worry about, looking good. You don't have to worry about shaving anymore. It's fantastic. I used to shave all the time when I was single. I've been married for like 23 years. I only shave once a month. I love it. But making decisions is so powerful. And Donald Trump has made his decision on Israel. And he said, Israel is our number one ally in the Middle East, and we will fight with Israel, because he understands Israel's not fighting Palestine. There's no Palestine that these people are for or against. There's no, Ilhan Omar has this Palestinian flag outside of her office. It's a flag it doesn't exist. There's no Palestine on the map. The river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Between the river and the sea is Israel. And Donald Trump knows that, and he decided that Israel is the rightful owner of Israel and that Israel has our support, and that's it. And we'll fight terrorists, because that's what we do. Donald Trump wiped out ISIS in 2 weeks. In just 3 years, they managed to come back under Joe Biden, but Donald Trump wiped them out in 2 weeks. So you make a decision. I've decided this is my stance on Israel. If you don't like it, go vote for Kamala Harris. The only problem is Kamala Harris hasn't made a decision on Israel. She hasn't made a decision on Palestine. And all of those people that don't like Donald Trump's decision on Israel are floundering around trying to figure out who the heck they're going to vote for, if they vote for anyone at all. And some of those people were going to vote for RFK Jr., but not anymore, because RFK Jr. is about to dip out of this race, cede his audience and his support, and give his endorsement to Donald J. Trump. All right, I want to play you this interview with Lindsey Graham. If you don't know Lindsey Graham, she's the Patriot Barbie on Instagram, and I first met her a couple years ago, and she has exploded ever since then. She has all of these great businesses. She does all these amazing things. You should really follow her. She's super conservative. She used to live, I forget where she started, but she was she had owned a gym, and she started during COVID to allow people to come to the gym. And she said, I'm not living with your stupid lockdowns. I think it was in California, and she got attacked. Online, she got attacked by the government, and she said, screw it. She shut down her gym and moved to Phoenix. And she started a bunch of different businesses, and now she's just cooking with gas. But one day I was flipping. In fact, I'll tell the story. But I saw something happen to her, and I wanted to get her on the show, so I did. And I'm going to play you this interview in full. This is my interview with the Patriot Barbie, Lindsey Graham. So the other day I was on Instagram or Facebook, whatever. I'm always everywhere, and I'm flipping through the stories, and I see our good friend Lindsey Graham. No, not that Lindsey Graham, the better Lindsey Graham, aka the Patriot Barbie, and she's crying on her Instagram story about how, get this, all of her social media sites have been shut down because all of her businesses are conservative, and there's a lot of them. And it wasn't just one. It was like they all collapsed at one time. She got Andrew Tated almost, or Donald Trump really is what happens. And so I asked her to come on and talk about it. And so she joins us right now. Give it up for Patriot Barbie Lindsey Graham.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, how you doing? First of all, you look fantastic. How are things going?
Thank you. Oh, well, they're much better. If you would ask me 48 hours ago, I would have been like, I'm going to cry again on my, social media. Who cries on their social media?
And like everybody, all the Taylor Swift fans from Vienna, Austria have been crying on their social media.
I should have put a Taylor Swift song to my video just to go with it. Like, oh, poor me.
Yeah,
but I'm great now.
Okay, thank God. Now, this is something that unless you're a conservative in business and a conservative social media creator or heavy social media user, this is something that may not seem drastic, but to those of us who live and die on social media and who use these platforms for business, this is a huge thing to be shut down or canceled, as I call it. Tell everyone what happened to you just 48 hours ago. It was Sunday, right?
Oh, it was a Sunday. Yeah. I got out of church. It was a beautiful day. The birds were chirping. And Kendall, my business partner, she's Kendall in Kentucky on Instagram. She says, call me immediately. It's urgent. And I'm like, okay.
You hate those calls. You hate those.
It was urgent. It was urgent. So she says, the Pretty Little Patriot, which is our fashion brand, got shut down, the Instagram. And I'm like, what? So then I go to log in to my own Instagram to just look at Pretty Little Patriot. And I start getting flashed with all these notices. The Patriot Barbie shop has been disabled. My Freedom Card has been disabled. Pretty Little Patriot has been disabled. Your personal Facebook has been disabled. And it was just like one after the other.
Yeah.
And so, oh my gosh, it turns out that my original Facebook, which is my personal Facebook, right? So it's 25 years old.
Right.
It's got all my kids' pictures, my whole life. It got flagged for fraud and deception. Don't ask me how.
Your personal Facebook page that you've had for 25 years with your kids' photos and everything and all your life and all the way back when, all the photos of your food back when we all thought that was cool.
I didn't do that.
That got flagged for fraud.
Yeah, fraud. Yeah. So here's the thing. And then they said, just to make sure this is you, upload a selfie.
Right.
So I'm like, okay. So I upload a selfie and I'm telling you, within 10 seconds, my appeal had been denied. I'm like, but I'm me.
You're right.
This is so weird. So they denied it. And I'm like, there's no way that a human being on this earth somehow in the 10 seconds that I uploaded a selfie, got it back at Meta, reviewed it, and personally decided, no, this is not the same person.
Yeah, it's all
I don't know what that was.
They took your selfie now, and I guess they took one of your photos from your Facebook page, and for whatever reason, the AI didn't think that you were the same person, which is weird. Well, weird, but this is the problem. Maybe we should stop photoshopping our photos. Because I'm like, well, maybe my selfie leaving church on a hot day isn't as lovely as the professional photoshopped airbrush all
photo.
the Facetune photos up there on Instagram. Facetune seemed like a great idea until your whole business gets shut down. So because you're, and that's really the core. Everything stems from that personal page, right? Every Instagram account, every Facebook account that you created comes from that personal page. So was that really what happened? It was like the domino effect. They pulled that out and the whole tower fell.
Yeah. And it's really weird how it happened because my personal Facebook indeed housed and managed all of my businesses. Now, 2 survived and I don't know why.
Okay.
But they deleted the Instagram pages. Okay. But they did not delete the Facebook pages of these businesses, but they are connected.
That's weird.
So it makes no sense why they were like, thank God they didn't, right? But they took down the Instagram, but they did not take down the Facebooks, which I think is very, very strange. And what really was hurtful that whole day was like waiting for the other, shoe to fall and have the Patriot Barbie, which has 350,000 followers.
Yeah.
I was afraid that was going to go next.
That was your Instagram.
What's that?
Your Instagram, you mean?
My main Instagram. Yeah. They didn't ban it, but that page is connected to my Facebook also. So I don't know why it survived, except that I have the blue check mark. So maybe that's the only thing I can think of.
So what did you end up losing? You lost Pretty Little Patriot, which is your big clothing line, which is fantastic, by the way. What is it? What do you call it? Ultra womanly clothing or something like that?
Yeah. We call it fiercely feminine fashion for women by women.
That's what it is.
XX chromosomes only. Yep.
That's probably now you know why that got banned 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
Fiercely feminine fashion and it's great looking stuff. So that got shut down, and your store is linked to that Instagram, right? So you lost.
Yes.
You weren't able to sell anything.
Yeah, so we could sell off of our website, prettylittlepatriot.com, but we could not sell on Instagram, and the shop was disabled.
And
so you could You can no longer like click on a photo of our stuff and then go buy it.
And how much of your business comes from your Instagram store?
Well, we are mainly Instagram influencers.
Yeah.
So 90% of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely.
90%.
I mean, definitely a reason to panic, and tears are definitely justified in that kind of situation. So that happened. And then what did you do next after you made the Instagram post explaining what had gone
After
on?
I cried my eyes out.
After you uploaded your Facetune selfie and got denied.
Oh my God. Right. Then I went into like, I do like panic mode for maybe 30 minutes to an hour,
Yeah.
anything in my life.
Yeah.
And then I go into full, like, how do I fix this mode?
Right.
So we started making phone calls, started asking around. We just kept blowing up. Kendall and I kept blowing up our stories all day about this happening to us.
Right.
And we had some amazing people try to come help us. So Michael Seifert, the CEO of Public Square, he reached out. Yeah, he shared and said, we stand with Kendall and Lindsay at Public Square. They're a Public Square business.
That's great. Yeah.
And he connected us to someone at Meta who started working on repairing our accounts.
Fantastic.
Another influencer, Lily Kate.
Lily Kate.
To another person. Oh, she's so sweet. We love her. So she sent us another contact. So we had that contact, and then someone else sent me contact. So we had all these people working on our accounts throughout the day. And by 2:00 the next day, so Monday, one of the Meta contacts that Michael Seifert had connected us with, so they had paired together apparently. And at 2:00, he just said, all your accounts have been reinstated.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. Yeah, I mean, I was praying for that, praying.
That's amazing.
And we weren't taking any steps to create new accounts because I was like, Lord, we're going to get these old ones back. And sure enough, we did.
That's fantastic. And do you think now that you have some kind of, because here's the thing, a lot of times, as you pointed out, it seems random. It seems like some kind of glitch in the system. A lot of times it's not. A lot of times it's targeted. What people don't really realize, and I've experienced it myself, Facebook and Instagram, you think they're connected, but really they're not. Your Facebook account, for example, I was demonetized on Instagram a long time ago, but not on Facebook. And it's weird because it's the same content, same kind of stuff, same company.
Yeah.
But they are kind of independent of each other. But it is interesting that you were able to actually get somebody behind the scenes to help you. Do you feel now that you have kind of a layer of protection almost because of that? Or
I do.
Yeah.
I do. So there is an entire, how do you want to call it? Like an entire segment of Meta that is for conservative like activism. That is for like, hey, we're trying to level the playing field. Let's not just ban all these conservatives unrighteously. So if there is an account that's banned and it's not legit, we're going to do our best to get it back up. And that's what this whole arm of Meta does. And so knowing that, I mean, like the panic just went away completely and utterly. Every time I post, I panic. Did I say the wrong thing? Is this going to get flagged for misinformation?
Sure, yeah.
It's kind of gone, right? Because I just know that there are actually people at Meta, believe it or not, that would advocate for us on our behalf.
Wow. And so now that you're back up and everything's running again, how are sales? Has this actually... I mean, I have to look. There's no such thing as a real tragedy when it comes to publicity. Are you getting a lot more people checking out your stuff?
Yeah. So during the time that we were banned, our sales probably tripled because it was like, go support us because now we have to put all this effort instead of into our actual business, into rebuilding an Instagram account that had 41,000 followers. All of the content's gone, all of the pictures, you know how it is. So people were so supportive and more people went to our website than ever before. And so, yeah, it is really a blessing in disguise. And like Kendall and I said, we know that God works all things for good, right? Romans 8:28. So this is like, man, he really blessed us in that time when it seemed like the world was attacking us.
If God is with us, who can be against us?
That's right.
Absolutely not. Well, we're so happy to hear that. Now, have you taken steps? Because this is the other thing I always talk to people about. Have you taken steps to make sure this doesn't happen again? Or if it does happen again, know that you're not 100% reliant on these platforms, which could disappear, be bought out, shut you down at any time.
Yeah. So it's really fortunate, but I didn't even tell this part. Like 3 months ago, MailChimp actually canceled my account.
Yeah.
40,000
You still
emails.
had a MailChimp account? Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. I did not realize how woke they were.
Yeah.
So they canceled me completely. And at that time, LaunchCart, actually, I don't know if you've heard of them. They're like the conservative kind of, They had come to me and said, we want to partner with you. We want you to be a brand ambassador. And thank God they have CRM, they have email marketing, they have all of that. So my email list was able to be transferred over to them.
That's great.
And now I am capitalizing on using that CRM to capture emails.
Oh, that's
so
fantastic.
if something were to happen in my accounts again, I've got all my followers in one place.
It's something I tell everybody. I'm like, look, it's nice that you have a lot of Facebook followers. It's nice that everyone follows you on YouTube and even X. But one day you're going to wake up and they're not going to be there. How are you going to get in touch with these folks? How are you going to let them know where to shop, where to buy your stuff, where to listen to you? I mean, even the radio, we used to be on the radio. Now someone decided you're not going to be, but there's still, we had access to all of our listeners because we were able to pull them off of the free platform. And I always say, you got to own your followers. You got to own your customers. Yeah. And that's one of the best ways to do it. So now, all right, you've got, by the way, more than just the clothing. You've got Pretty Little Patriots, but you've got all this other great stuff that you're doing. Tell everyone what you're up to.
My arm's got so much good stuff. Okay, where do I start? So last week, I co-founded and helped launch the first ever non-woke entertainment streaming platform. Yeah. It's called We the Studios.
We the Studios.
And We the Studios. Yep. So go to wethestudios.com and check it out. So it is 2 Hollywood producers that have said, we're done with woke Hollywood. We want to start doing Hollywood style content without the BS, right? Without the indoctrination and the propaganda. So they're making normal TV. So this is not political TV. This is reality shows, hunting, cooking, family shows, eventually probably scripted. Yeah. It's just normal TV, comedy shows, but without the woke. So you can actually go join right now for $17.76 for the rest of 2024. Wow. And the episodes are going to start dropping in about 3 weeks. So that's amazing.
That's fantastic. We the Studios. Yeah. And this is the thing that we always talk about, the separate economy. It's not, it's not that we wanted to create a separate economy. It's that we're forced to create a separate economy. That's when you look at even Truth Social was created because Twitter blocked Donald Trump and threw off a whole bunch of other, conservative minds and voices. And you look at, Rumble is huge now because of what happened with YouTube demonetizing people and kicking them off the platform. So this this second conservative creator economy is not something we sought to do. We were forced to do. And it's great that you're taking advantage of that as well. What's the other thing you're doing? You had a
Patriot Ventures.
That's right. That's the one. Yeah.
You'll notice that all of the businesses that I own have either the word freedom or patriot in it.
That makes sense.
That's pretty funny.
You got to draw the market.
Yeah. That's right. So Patriot Ventures is another thing that's created out of this economy because Stripe and PayPal are so woke, and I'm probably not supposed to name drop them like that, but they will cancel conservatives. They'll hold their funds, right? Yeah. So even worse than losing your Instagram would be waking up and having your funds frozen in PayPal.
Right.
So Patriot Ventures is payment processing for conservative companies. So gun stores, restaurants, retail stores that sell Trump gear that are afraid of, if I say the wrong thing, you're going to hold my money. Yep. So we process, we are cornering the market on conservative businesses. So if you're afraid of getting canceled, patriotventures.us is the website.
It's so funny. I tell this story all the time. My last book, Go Trump Yourself, which was great. Somebody told me, they said, you should sell Go Trump Yourself on TikTok Shop. And I go, all right, I'll try it. So I signed up for TikTok Shop. And they allowed it in the TikTok Shop. Ooh. And then they said, would you like to advertise this? Here's $20 advertising credits. You can run ads. So I go to the TikTok advertising platform and I put in my $20 voucher and I set up an ad. And as soon as I typed in Go Trump Yourself and hit enter, not only did they decline to run the ad, they closed my advertising account permanently.
Oh my God.
And I was like, wait, I mean, there's one.
You asked me to do this.
You invited me here. You told me to come. You gave me $20. I came in. Not only did you not run my ad, you told me to leave and never come back. It was wild. But this kind of stuff.
You know what they said? They said, you know what, Mark, you can go Trump yourself.
You can go Trump yourself. Well, listen, this was fantastic. And we're so glad that and it's difficult for it's anybody who's not a conservative or anyone who's a conservative who's not using social media for business just doesn't understand. But there are really 2 different sets of rules for people in business on social media, aren't there?
Yep, there are. Yep. I have no intention of playing by the rules. So I'm sure I'll be facing this again soon.
They don't tell the stories of those who played it safe.
That's right.
Yeah, there we go. Lindsey Graham, Patriot Barbie. Now, if people want to go find all your great stuff and all your fashions and everything you're doing, what's the best place to send them?
Best place is patriotbarbie.com. You'll get a pop-up. Subscribe to that email list because that's where I'm keeping you.
100%. Always.
Patriot Barbie.
Patriotbarbie.com. If you love somebody online or if you follow somebody online, just give them your email. You can trust that person. Give them your email. Give them your phone number. Sometimes it's the only way that they may be able to get in touch with you. and keep you close. Hey, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it too.
Patriot Barbie, she's amazing, by the way, and it proves a fantastic point about that's something that I've been preaching forever. And those of you that have been Patriots forever, you know what's up, you know what's happening, you know that there's a secondary economy that we've been forced to create, and the reason we've been forced to create it is because of censorship simply because of conservative ideas. Truth Social, Donald Trump, because Donald Trump famously really kind of. There's always God's got a plan, everything's good, yada, yada, yada. Whenever you get tied into one thing, that usually there's a tough lesson to be learned. It's taken away from you. And that's when you really decide, oh, I should probably have a second tier option. And what we see with Truth Social is Truth Social became the conservative answer to Twitter. Because Twitter shut out conservatives. Twitter didn't want anything to do with conservatives. Twitter threw Donald Trump, the president of the United States, off of their platform. And he luckily had enough money and enough capital and enough friends to say, I'm going to start my own. So I can get the message out there. So I can continue to bring you the truth. And that's how Truth Social was born. That's why all these other companies are popping up. That's why we do this podcast right now. We were censored. We were shut down. We were canceled. We were told, get out of here. So we created a place where we could come. Rumble is another great example. All of you on Rumble, and we have 1,500 people watching on Rumble. That's great, and we appreciate it. And don't forget to like and share and smash that thumbs up and send us Rumble rants and all that great stuff. Subscribe, and you'll get a little red banner on all of your comments so we can more easily, like Jay Monty, for example, is a subscriber. So when you see, as soon as I look at the Rumble, Jay Monty's comments jump right at me. He's talking about brisket. Help John make better brisket. Make brisket great again. I never would have known that if Jay Monty didn't take the time to subscribe to Rumble. But Rumble popped up. Rumble was just like a smaller version of YouTube. It's a Canadian company. These guys in Canada, these Canucks, decided to start a YouTube alternative. And their YouTube alternative started just like YouTube did. It had prank videos and animal tricks and people putting their cats up there. There was a huge thing about cat videos on Rumble. There may still be, I don't know. And what they realized, because even though they're Canadian, it doesn't mean that they're socialist. I mean, yes, there's a lot of communists in Canada, but most of them are just angry capitalists like the rest of us. And they realized, you know what? YouTube is starting to censor people, demonetize people. I mean, we're on our second or third, YouTube channel as it is. And it's the wrong message to send. It's not right. Everybody should have a voice. Every conservative should have a voice. Every conservative should be able to make their case. They shouldn't be shut out. I mean, you remember what happened with Rand Paul when we spoke with him, and we both got in trouble with Google for speaking the truth. And so Rumble started to change. They said, look, we've got a platform. We love free speech. We love capitalism. We're going to reach out to conservatives. And they did. I never knew about Rumble until Rumble called me. Rumble knew about me before I knew about Rumble. And I got a message from them saying, can we talk? We think you'd be perfect for our platform. And while they were reaching out to me, they were reaching out to Dan Bongino. Who invested in the company. They were reaching out to, all these other Charlie Kirk. They were reaching out to every conservative they could find on YouTube who they thought might be getting a bad break, might be getting thwarted by the powers that be. And they grew into a huge company. And they built a brand new office down here in Florida. And they got Steven Crowder to come on. And they got Russell Brand. And now man, they dominated the RNC. They had the largest space, the biggest guests, the coolest studio. It was phenomenal. And all of that grows from this corporate structure of competition. Now, Kamala Harris and the Democrats, they want to get rid of all that. They don't like competition whatsoever. They want to tell you what you can and cannot do. They want to federally regulate everything. But if you let people alone, if you let people censor people, there will be new, bigger, better companies that pop out of that. And on the flip side, those companies that are censoring people will stop because they realize that they're losing customers. That's how it's been forever. That's the capitalist way. And that's why we're constantly. I love Lindsey Graham. I love unfortunate name. It's unfortunate when you share a name with somebody like there's a guy who was on the Gilmore Girls, played Luke on the Gilmore Girls. His name was Scott Patterson, and everyone thought he was Scott Peterson, which is horrible. That was a bad rap. I share my name, Mark Kaye, with a famous soccer player, a private equity multi-billionaire, and a new age musician from California. And unfortunately, when I was on YouTube, whenever someone typed in Mark Kaye, they would get all these new age videos from this long-haired dude in California. So every now and then you have Lindsey Graham, the Patriot Barbie, shares her name with Lindsey Graham, the wish-washy, flippy-floppy, waffling senator from warmongering. I forgot that senator from South Carolina. So again, unfortunate for her, but good. But patriotbarbie.com is the best place to go to get all the information you need about all the amazing things that she's doing. And we'll bring you more of those interviews. And it kind of goes on. I have a new book coming out, by the way. It's not ready yet. It'll be ready hopefully next week. And when it's ready, rest assured, you'll be the first to hear about it. You're not only going to hear about it, you won't be the first, you're going to be the first and the middle and the last to hear about it. You're going to get sick and tired of me talking about it, but it's great. It's the first book I've written since Go Trump Yourself, and it's a follow-up on exactly what we just talked about the cancel culture of social media and how to cancel-proof yourself. And we'll get into that next week. I think it's really exciting, and I think it's important, and I think that it's something that every conservative really needs to be wary of. And if Donald Trump comes back to power, I don't know that it's going to get better. I think it's going to get worse on social media. I think the internet's going to become less, I guess you would say, diverse, equitable, and inclusive. I hate to use that phrase, but I think that's exactly what's going to happen. All right, so here's the dealio. We have coming up in just a minute. I pulled up Newsmax. Let me make sure my Newsmax is up and see if we got it there. Is that news? That looks like Newsmax, right? Oh, what is happening? Oh, I gotta move this. Hang on. Let me move this a little bit. This is fancy, huh? This is the behind the scenes that not everybody gets. All right, I've got the Newsmax up. And when the president and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. come out to make their big announcement in Arizona, we will bring it to you live. And we'll, of course, comment and that kind of thing. Is this an ad on Newsmax or is this the actual show? I think this may be. Oh, wait, hold on. I got to turn it on so you guys can't hear that. Wait, hang on.
It is available
there
from
you go.
The pharmacy.
Okay, so we'll bring you that announcement. They've set up the podium, they've set up the flags, they've set up all that kind of stuff. So we'll bring that to you, like I said, as soon as it happens, and then we'll talk a little bit about it because it's going to have ramifications. It's going to turn this election back upside down. It's going to, first of all, it's going to pull all of the fire and all the wind out of Kamala Harris's sails. No one will care about the speech she gave last night because she didn't really say anything anyway, but it's going to be all about Donald Trump and RFK Jr. This is the biggest news to come out of this campaign since Joe Biden flipped. I mean, the players are changing once again. This race, think about it, was Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. Then it was Donald Trump versus Joe Biden versus RFK. Then it was Donald Trump versus Donald Trump versus RFK versus Kamala Harris. And now it's going to be Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. It's been the wackiest election cycle we've ever seen. And it's going to upend everything one more time. The betting markets, the polls, the news cycle, everything is going to change. When you look at the support, it's going to change the schedule. Think about this too. Donald Trump is doing something Kamala Harris is not. He's amassing this team of, and we talked about it before, of Marvel superhero-like characters who can go out and canvass for him. He's got all of these Marvel Avengers style superheroes who are in his corner and are pledging their support to him and are fighting. They're not just pledging support like the Obamas, right? The Obamas roll into town and they're all like, we love Kamala. Do something. Do something. Go do something. That's what they're saying. That was their big rallying cry. And what did they do? They went home. It was like 3 days ago. They didn't go and rally support for Kamala. They didn't go to LA and try to raise money for her. They didn't go and talk to people in Georgia. Oprah Winfrey came back to Chicago and said, Joy! Yeah, Oprah Winfrey was like, who are we going to vote for?
Kamala Harris!
And then she went back to Malibu or Hawaii or God only knows where she is. I know where she isn't, on the campaign trail. So Kamala Harris is getting these big wigs to come into the campaign and maybe boost her ratings. She couldn't get Beyonce. Okay, fine. She got the chicks. She got the chicks and Pink. Those are the people who came to Kamala Harris's defense last night. But they're not out there helping her. They're not out there supporting her. They're not out there talking to the people. You know who is? J.D. Vance. Every day since he became vice president, every single day since J.D. Vance became vice president, guess who I've seen on TV talking to crowds? J.D. Vance. The Sunday shows. I've seen J.D. Vance on the Sunday shows every Sunday since he became vice president. You know who I haven't seen? Coach Walls, Tampon Tim. He hasn't sat down for a single interview on any of the Sunday shows or, fun fact, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday shows either. And neither has Kamala Harris. I see J.D. Vance so much. I see Donald. Yesterday, I was watching Donald Trump. I first heard Donald Trump on Fox and Friends when he called in and yelled at Brian Kilmeade for like an hour. Then I saw Donald Trump at the border in Arizona, even though the police told him not to go because some madman was out there trying to shoot him again. He went, and I watched him at a press conference. Then I saw him later on call back into Bret Baier at Fox News. And then after that, he, just for the cherry on top of the free publicity cake, Donald Trump called into Gutfeld. That was Donald Trump's day. You know what Kamala Harris did yesterday? She came out and she spoke for 37 minutes to a crowd of the already discipled, and then she left. And she didn't do an interview on the way out. She did no exit interview. She didn't take any questions. There was no press conference. Still has not been a press conference. And as far as I know, she's not campaigning today, and nor is she slated to be on the Sunday shows or the Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday shows. The next time you may hear from Kamala Harris is at the debate on September the 10th, which is a very long time. That's more than 2 weeks from now. That's going to be the next time you're going to hear from Donald Trump in just a minute. Donald Trump is going to be back on television in just a minute. Every 24 hours, he's on TV for at least, I would say, 7 of them. Or the radio, or he's on the phone, or he's doing a live stream somewhere, or he's doing a 3-hour X space with Elon Musk. You constantly hear Donald Trump out there making his case for the American people, and you hear absolutely nothing about Kamala Harris. And that's where we are. That's where we are today. So look, it's very exciting, and it's very telling about what's going to be going on. But this group of Avengers that he's got, they're going to continue to go out there, and now he's got RFK Jr. along with him. And RFK Jr., he's going to make his announcement today. And then the hard work begins. He's got 74 days to go out and convince all of his supporters. Everybody who wanted to vote for RFK Jr. now has to go out and tell them why they should vote for Donald Trump. He's got to say, I haven't abandoned you. What I've done is given us all a path toward what we wanted in the first place. Whether it was medical autonomy for our bodies, a government that doesn't force us to get vaccinated, a government that doesn't put limitations on our freedom during COVID or during any other pandemic, a government that doesn't tax us at the wazoo. All of these things, a nice, safe and secure border, safe and secure streets for our kids to play on. All of those things. What RFK Jr. promised his constituents he was going to fight for, Donald Trump will fight for. And he's got to now go point that out to them and say, this is the guy that's going to deliver on the things I wanted to deliver on. I couldn't get it going. But now we're going to need your support. We're going to need your support in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, wherever. So he's got J.D. Vance going out there every single day. He's got RFK Jr. going out there every single day. He's got Tulsi Gabbard, who is not only helping him with debate prep for the September 10th debate against Kamala Harris, but is also a surrogate for Donald Trump, as I see her popping up on the news shows. Vivek Ramaswamy was all over the DNC. He was there every single day, trolling people and talking to people, and he was doing and saying all of the things that Donald Trump does and says, and he was doing them when Donald Trump couldn't. Donald Trump couldn't roll into Chicago at the DNC, but Vivek Ramaswamy could, and you're going to see more of Vivek Ramaswamy every single day from here until Election Day and probably after that as well. Elon Musk. You think we saw the last of the Elon Musk Twitter or X Spaces? No way. Elon Musk has been tweeting and memeing and doing all kinds of amazing things in favor of Donald Trump. He's been pointing out all of the atrocities of the Democrat Party, all of the weaknesses of Kamala Harris as a leader. He's offered up his platform to Donald Trump probably whenever he wants. Kamala Harris as well. But Kamala Harris, she's too scared and she's too stupid to realize the gift that she was given. Elon Musk, the very next day after Donald Trump wrapped up his... Donald Trump gets 3 hours on X, and it's amazing, and it breaks all these records, and more people listen to it than any other X space in history. And Elon Musk says, by the way, Kamala, open invitation, we'll host you too, and she ignores him. I mean, this was the most... You know what the most listened to X space in history would be? It would be the one where Kamala Harris says, you know what? I'll agree. I'll come on and answer your questions. It would be ridiculously popular, and it might actually help her campaign. But she's not going to do that. She's going to run, and she's going to hide, and she's not going to talk to anybody. Meanwhile, Donald Trump not only has... Oh, and neither is anyone else, by the way. That's the other thing, too. It's not like Tim Walz is out there talking to people. It's not like she's got, Del Gemhoff out there making the case for her. That's the other thing, too. I hear all the time, where's Melania? Where's Melania? Where's Doug? What's he doing? What kind of help has that guy been to the campaign other than to remind everybody that he slept with the nanny? What has he added to Kamala Harris's political aspirations? I have not seen Doug Emhoff do a gosh darn thing. It's amazing to me how little campaigning they're doing. Hopefully they won't win. If they win, it sets a very bad precedent. It lets people know that the less the American public knows about you, the better it is. And man, you want to talk about a lot. If you think there's a lack of transparency now, just wait. We're going to have anonymous candidates. If Kamala Harris wins the election without anybody knowing a single thing about her or what she stands for or what she's going to do as president or how she's going to make all these glorious dreams, all of our wildest dreams come true. If she becomes president and we don't get to hear from her one time, then the next candidate is going to just be wearing a mask and they're going to be known as Candidate X or something like that. You're going to have just some anonymous, it's going to be some AI generated person who's going to run for president and probably win. Because that's basically all we have now with Kamala Harris. She's an anonymous person. We've seen her twice in the last week. Donald Trump is everywhere. Look, there he is on Newsmax. That was him at the border yesterday. Cochise County, Arizona, which by the way, we should take this opportunity to say happy birthday to Kari Lake. Kari Lake, who is running for Senate in Arizona. Kari Lake, who we've had the honor of speaking with on a couple of occasions. Kari Lake celebrating her birthday today, and hopefully she'll celebrate with a big Senate win. Ruben Gallego, and this is something we talked about a little bit yesterday, last night. Ruben Gallego, who she's running against, he's the Democrat in Arizona. It's a very tight race. Ruben Gallego is winning. And it's an issue for me because Donald Trump is also winning. Donald Trump currently leads in Arizona. You would think that Kari Lake would be in a similar position, but not so. Which means that the people that are answering these poll questions, oh my God, he looks so much like Elizabeth Warren, doesn't he? That is Elizabeth Warren when she was a teenage girl. That is, sorry, I got totally distracted. They just showed a picture of the gunman. What's his name? Crooks, and he looks just like Elizabeth Warren. Anyway, I digress. So we were talking a little bit yesterday about this, and basically, wait, what was I saying? Now I totally forgot. The photo of the gunman totally distracted me, and I have no idea what I was talking about. Something very important. Somebody in the chat remind me of what I was talking about before I got distracted, please, because I got distracted. Oh yeah, it was Ruben Gallego. Thank you. So you've got all these people in Arizona, and they're answering these pollsters, and they're saying, I support Donald Trump, but I support Ruben Gallego. And odds are those are anti-Kamala Democrats. Those are Democrats who, I don't know, maybe they're pro-Israel Democrats, who knows? But they are not for Kamala Harris. They're for Donald Trump. Those are rich Democrats who want to keep their money, who want to keep their freedom, who want to keep their businesses, who don't want to be taxed out the wazoo. Those are Democrats in Arizona who see the wide open border, have probably experienced a rise in crime, or they're experienced homeless illegal immigrants, blocking up their kids' path to school, or maybe they're crossing through their yards late at night, stealing clothes off their clothesline. Who knows what it is? But those are Democrats who are sick and tired of the federal government's total disregard for their obligation to protect this country at the border. And so what they're doing is they're voting for Donald Trump because they know he'll keep them safe and he'll keep them rich. But for whatever reason, they don't trust Kari Lake or they don't want to vote for another Republican. Voting for one Republican's bad enough. So they're going to vote for Ruben Gallego. It's good news and it's bad news. The good news is they're voting for Donald Trump and not Kamala Harris. We'll take it. The bad news is they're not giving Donald Trump the tools he needs to succeed. And while all politics is local, and you should really be looking locally to your politics and your local political leaders for insight into your own life. For example, and I tell people this all the time, COVID was an eye-opener for a lot of folks because COVID made people realize that the person that has the most effect on their daily life and the person that has the most power over what they get to do and say on the daily is not the president of the United States. It's not the senator they send to Washington. It's usually not even their representative. It's their local county officials and their city officials. It's the mayor. It's their governor. It's their county commissioner, school board. If your kids weren't in school for a year, if they were forced to wear masks or if they were forced to get some kind of inoculation that you didn't want them to get, but you couldn't have them sitting at home because you have a job to do and you can't homeschool your kids because the government decided to become a tyrannical dictatorship, that's on your school board. That's on your mayor. That's on your governor. The local elections are the most important because they are the ones that affect you the most. But on a national scale, if you're voting for a Republican president, you should probably give that person who you're saying to that person, I like you, I trust you, I believe in what you're saying, and I want you to do what you're telling me you're going to do. I would like you to lower my taxes. I would like you to stop the war in Ukraine. I would like you to bring all the money back. I would like you to shut down the border. I would like you to fix the economy. I'd like you to fix my 401k. I would like you to drill, baby, drill. As you have promised to do. I would like you to be a dictator on day one, and I'd like you to do that mass deportation. That sounds good to me as a resident of Arizona. But then to turn around and say, I'm not going to give you the tools to do any of that, though, doesn't make any sense. If you're a Democrat voter in Arizona or anywhere, and you are going to vote for Donald Trump, you must give him Republicans down the ballot. You must give him Republicans down the ballot because if he doesn't have the Senate and he doesn't have the House of Representatives, then it's going to be a lot more difficult for him to do in 4 years the things that he promised to do in 4 years. But if you give him the House and you give him the Senate and you give him the keys to the Oval Office, then America will change faster than you can say Kamala Harris. It's going to be, within months, a dramatically different country. Everything will be better. And the Senate is not an issue this time around. We're in that lunar cycle, if you will, or that electoral cycle where it just goes, because, there's 100 senators. They break it up into 6-year terms. So every 4 years, a third of the Senate is replaced or is up for re-election, I guess I should say. And it just so happens that in this particular cycle, the replacements will be more Republican than Democrat. We know this because Joe Manchin is already gone. And Joe Manchin is not going to be replaced by a Democrat because West Virginia is a solidly red state. We also know that John Tester could be easily defeated in Montana, which would give us a red state Republican, which would be fantastic because, again, I don't know why those people in Montana have been voting for John Tester this long. There's other races where Sherrod Brown, for example, in Ohio, is vulnerable. And a Republican could take that seat if we get off our butts and we go support him. And then, of course, there's Arizona, where Kari Lake, who should have been governor. Why did Kari Lake not become governor? Was it because the voting machines went down in the Republican districts on election day? Probably that had something to do with it. But maybe it's because God's plan was to put her in the Senate for 6 years where she could actually do more good and help Donald Trump pass all the legislation he's promised to pass. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I'm not God. I just trust in his plan. Amen. Hallelujah. Why am I sitting at home instead of a multi-million-dollar radio facility? Don't know. But I trust in the Lord that he is pointing me in the right direction. So far, so good, by the way, God. So, thank you for that. I appreciate it. So that's how we got here today. So if you are a Democrat voting for Donald Trump, if you're an independent voting for Donald Trump, if you are an undecided voter voting for Donald Trump, thank you. Awesome job. Right move. But you got to put the hammer in his hand. You got to give him the saw. You got to take him to Home Depot and fill up his cart with whatever he needs. If you are hiring a general contractor and you're saying, I would like you to build me a pool house that I can go, a luxury pool house. I want it to be beautiful and I want it to be comfortable. I want it to be air conditioned. I want it to have a full bar where I can go and I can relax by the pool. I want a built-in kitchen, an outdoor kitchen right next to it. And I want you to do it in like a month. There's a contractor out there who will promise that they can do all that, but you've got to allow them access to your property. You've got to get them the tools they need. You've got to get them the supplies. You've got to be willing to make those payments. And for Donald Trump to build this country back to where it needs to be to make this country great again, he needs the tools, and his tools are a Republican Senate and House. The House of Representatives could be tricky. The House of Representatives could be tricky. It's a slim majority. It got slimmer every month. Kevin McCarthy left because he got sore because Matt Gaetz threw him out of the speakership. The Republicans idiotically threw out George Santos before he was even found guilty of any crimes. I mean, it was almost like they did it to themselves. But we had so many retirements. We had so many people leave prematurely. It's the slimmest majority ever. And depending on how these races fall, especially some of the races in the bluer states and the bluer counties, it's going to be difficult. But man, think about how great it's going to be for 2 years if Donald Trump has the full power and support of the Senate and the House of Representatives behind him. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. Anyway, so in just a minute, we see it looks like there's two setups. There's a podium with a couple of American flags that I believe in some kind of venue. It looks like they've got like the same carpet that they used to actually have in the office where I worked. It's like that same cheap office carpet that you buy in Squares and you install. And it's like vomit proof and blood proof and sweat proof. And you never know if it's dirty or not. I remember when Hannah dropped a gallon container of salsa on the carpet. And typically, like if you dropped a gallon container of salsa on the carpet at your house, you would have to probably recarpet. That salsa would not come out. There would be a big, huge red stain on that carpet forever. Not the carpet at the office. The carpet we had at work, we just picked up the salsa, they vacuumed over it, and you could not even tell that there were microorganisms just breeding there from the spilled salsa. Because that's how those carpets are. Anyway, so that's the one room. And I believe that's where RFK will be speaking. And then there's another room, which kind of looks like it looks like it's the back of some Tex-Mex restaurant or something. It's very Arizona themed. And I think that's where Donald Trump is going to be making his announcement. And then there's a rally too. So this is where it gets confusing because there's the announcement and then there's the rally. And I'm not sure if they're combined. I thought, for example, RFK would be coming up at the rally. It doesn't appear that's going to be the case. It appears like he's going to make his announcement separately of Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump may come out and say something. And then the rally may happen a little later on today. So again, a lot to go with. RFK Jr. has I guess he's officially taken his name off the ballot in a lot of states, which is important. I believe he'll drop the case in Pennsylvania to get reinstated to the ballot, which is important because you don't want any confusion. You don't want anyone going in to vote in Pennsylvania going, wait, RFK's still on the ballot? All right, I'll vote for that guy. That's not what we're looking for. Speaking of Pennsylvania, by the way, do not forget the Mark Kaye experience heads to Philadelphia. Mark Kaye saves the Republic live in Philly at the National Constitution Center, site of the first presidential debate. Could be the only presidential debate, but we know it's confirmed. The first presidential debate in Philadelphia, September the 10th. And I will be there on Monday the 9th. I will be there September the 10th. I will be there on Wednesday the 11th. And we will be wreaking all kinds of havoc all over that place. We will be all over PA. We'll be all over Philadelphia. We are going to, we're going to cover everything we can, talk to as many people as we can. I am in need, by the way, of a videographer. I've been looking for videographers. I found a couple people, but if anybody knows of a videographer, I'm just looking for another pair of hands. I'm going to, that video we just watched. Oh, by the way, I don't know. Did you guys see Jesse Waters in the video? My wife, I went out there during the interview because it was 15 minutes. I was like, all right, let me go to the bathroom. Let me fill up my coffee. Let me grab a handful of nuts And let me reload a little bit. So you guys are watching the interview. I went out there and my wife said, it was Jesse Waters. And I go, what are you talking about? She goes, I was watching your Bernie Sanders video and Jesse Waters was in the background. And I was like, what? Wait, what? So I went back. I didn't even realize it. Look at this. 2016, Philadelphia. I'm rolling around with my camera as a free agent. And look who's behind me. Look at it. It's Jesse Waters. He's just standing there looking at me like I'm an idiot. Which, let's be honest, probably not too. And now, this is amazing. Jesse Waters from Fox News was right there. And this whole time, I had no idea. I mean, back then, I don't even know if anyone, I don't know what he was doing back then. I don't know where his career was. Now, he's like the guy, he's got the primetime spot on Fox News. Clearly, our careers, this event did not cast the same trajectory on our careers. Jesse Waters is an international superstar, and I'm sitting at home. Screaming into a microphone, but that's okay because I'm having a blast. And I don't know if Jesse Waters is or not, but how great is that? You can go back and watch that video. There's Jesse Waters staring at me, not just in the back of the video, not just a little, what do you got? Like what do you call it? Like a cameo? No, he stopped and he looked at me like, who the hell is this guy? Why is this guy screaming? I should send this I'm going to tweet this photo and be like, hey, Jesse Waters, do you remember photobombing my video back in 2016? And we'll see what he says. Anyway, so that was my eagle-eyed wife caught that one. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So we're going to do that again. And we are going to go to Philadelphia, and hopefully I'll be able to get some help. Hopefully I'll be able to get somebody to help me out with my videography so I can focus mainly on the content. We'll do some interviews and stuff like that, but it's going to be a blast. And I wrote yesterday on X, hey, I'm going to be in town for the debate. You guys want to meet up for drinks afterward? And a couple people, I guess, thought I was kidding or something, but I'm not kidding. Julie Toomey will tell you that when I say let's meet up for drinks, we're meeting up for drinks. And it doesn't matter if the bar's closed. We're gonna find some drinks, and we're gonna have at it. We had a huge Margaritaville bash here in Jacksonville for Flag Day with all kinds of Patriots and all kinds of people from all over. I thought when we had our big Margaritaville Flag Day bash for Donald Trump's birthday, it was Donald Trump's birthday and it was Flag Day. It was an amazing experience. I thought when we had that bash that it was going to be just a bunch of people from Jacksonville. I thought maybe we'll get some people from Georgia. I thought maybe people would drive up from St. Augustine, maybe Orlando, but that's pushing it. I was wrong. We had all those people. We had people drive up from St. Augustine. We had people drive up from Orlando. We had people from Jacksonville, Florida. We had people from Georgia. We had people come from Texas. We had people come from Oklahoma. We had a woman drive 18 hours from Tulsa, Oklahoma, come to the party, spend the night, and drive all the way back because she wanted to come hang out and have drinks with a bunch of Patriots. It was amazing. We had a woman fly in from Washington State, not Washington, D.C., Washington State, which I don't know if you're familiar with the map, but we're in Florida, which is here, basically, and Washington State is here. Okay? So, I mean, I guess it's mirrored, so there we go. But it's about as far as you can fly. And she just wanted to come and have some drinks with us. And we got her it was all you could drink margaritas too. And the food was really incredible. So I didn't get any of it because everybody ate it. That's what happens. But anyway, so there will be drinks after the, and here's the thing. Tuesday night after the debate would be a great time for drinks. We're going to be live streaming the debate. I don't know how late it's going to go. So if not Tuesday night, definitely Wednesday night. In fact, we should probably plan for Wednesday. Wednesday, September 11th. That'll be good because I'll get up, I'll get rested. Wednesday, September 11th. A weird day to have a party, I know, but we will meet for drinks in Philadelphia. We'll have a little Patriot get together. So if you're in the Philadelphia area, or if you'd like to, then we can make that happen. Look, Dot Key says she's going to be there. Dot Key, I don't really drink, but I will still go to a bar. Fantastic. I'll drink enough for both of us. I'll drink. Although, I don't know if you noticed this. So after I got released from my position as nationally syndicated radio host, it took a couple weeks trying to figure things out. Wasn't really sure what we were going to do. And every night kind of seemed like a weekend night. So I treated every night like it was a weekend night. And it was a lot of fun. And I I started sampling various different styles of bourbon, maybe that I'd never sampled before. I would have maybe a glass of wine on a weeknight or 2 or 5 that I hadn't. But it was there were a lot of what seemed like just extra time for me to do that. But now that we're back, ever since I got to the RNC in July, I realized that if I'm going to keep up this schedule again, if I'm going to be up every single morning at 5:45, I wake up at 5:45 every morning, and I'm going to start planning the show and combing through and show prepping once again and writing and sending out emails. Then there's all this other content we've got to create, and we've got to be on Instagram, and also we've got books to write and yada yada yada, all that stuff. If I was going to do that effectively, probably get back into a healthier habit. So I haven't even really. I've actually stopped drinking during the week. I will, however, make an exception on September 11th when we're having our Kaye Treat meetup in Philadelphia, because those are always really fun. And depending on how many people come, you know what we'll do? Maybe we'll get some apps. Maybe we'll get some apps too, because doesn't everybody just love a little nosh with their drink? Lisa B. Sing 7. Can you catch us up on Hannah at all? Do you still communicate? Got a $5 Rumble rant from Lisa B. Sing 7. Can you catch us up on Hannah at all? Do you still communicate? I will say this. Who's Hannah? I'm just kidding. Yeah, Hannah, I mean, she's the same. She's doing great. I'm sure that if you don't follow her podcast, she has one as well. We both have podcasts. Hers is called We Saved You a Slice. I'm sorry, that's wrong. We Saved You a Spot is what hers is called. And there's an episode that featured me a couple of weeks ago where we kind of chit-chatted. But it was, yeah, she's doing great. She has a job. She got a job. I was like, I'm not working for the man anymore, but she's got a baby. She's got to feed the baby. So she's like, I'll work for the man. And, but she loves it. She's doing a very good job, apparently. She came to the Margaritaville Mastermind, and she was at our Flag Day party too. Plus, like I said, we did that podcast interview. In fact, I texted her the other day. I can't tell you what I texted her, although it was very funny. It was very funny. And, but I text her every now and then. She called me. This was funny. All right, so this is kind of funny. I can share this story with you. So we had an election here just on Tuesday, primary election, and we were, in support of a candidate who isn't our representative because we don't like our representative. He's a rhino. He doesn't reflect our values. He doesn't vote for the people, and we were trying to get rid of him. So we were backing a woman named Mara Macy. She lost. So it happens. That's all part of politics. You're either going to win or you're going to lose, or you're going to do what RFK Jr. is about to do and withdraw and throw your support behind the winner so that it seems like even though you lost, you won. Maybe that's what I should have done. Anyway, Mara Macy's great, and she'll have another chance to run in 2 years. That's the great thing about the Congress. But I helped her with she needed help with something or other, and I said, look, go to Hannah. She's got a studio. Hannah can help you. Hannah can, massage your message. She'll help with your inflection. So Hannah recorded this commercial. It was all great. But she calls me. I'm sorry, she texts me because she knows not to call because I won't answer. Or I'll panic. If Hannah ever just called me out of the blue, I would panic. So what happened is she texts me. She goes, can I call you? And then I go, why? And she said, I recorded an interview and the audio has a low hiss underneath it. And I don't know how to fix it. And this is quizzical to me for a couple reasons, because she's actually at a radio station surrounded by audio technicians and professional broadcasters. And she recorded this interview, again, in a building with people who know this equipment better than I do. I've never stepped foot in this building where she is. I hear great things about it, never been there. And she's calling me to say, how do I fix this problem? But it's Hannah, so I completely understood. So I go, yes, you can call me. So she calls me up and I go, what are you using? She goes, I'm using this. And I go, okay, what's the problem? She goes, this is the problem. I go, okay, here's what you do. Step 1, step 2, step 3. She goes, all right, I'm going to do that. And I go, great. If you have any other problems, let me know. So then I get a text back from her like 10 minutes later, OMG, all caps. It totally worked. And I'm like, yes. She's like, I can't believe it. And I go, why can't you believe? This is not the first. I've been doing this for going on 30 years. I don't know if you know who professionally produced my podcast every day But I don't have audio therapy. So anyway, I'm always baffled when she's shocked when I give her advice and it's the right advice. But she's doing great. If you follow her on Facebook, you probably know that. If not, by all means, follow her on Facebook because she'd probably be very thrilled. And maybe down the road we'll get her on the podcast. But I don't know. She's got a job and that kind of. There may be some kind of what do you call it? Conflict of interest. You never know. You never know. Anyway, might want to check out Fox News. What am I checking out Fox News for? Leslie. Oh, you mean for our, look, I don't have him talking. They're in the same place. Newsmax and Fox News, they're in the same room and they're waiting on this thing. I can see the same exact issue. We're still just waiting on RFK Jr. to come out and officially announce, oh, there's a guy there. Look at that long-haired hippie who's standing in at the podium. You can't see him on, yeah, you can kind of see him in the background on Fox News. All right, let me go see if I can pull up Fox News. Let me do this quickly. You're right. It's always good to have a backup. So I'm going to go to Fox News and I'm going to click Watch Live and I'm going to hit play and it's going to ask me to sign in and I'm going to sign in and it's telling me my password's wrong, which I don't believe, but hang on one second. And then we're looking for this announcement to begin very soon. Once the announcement is made, we are going to then, I believe, hear from Donald Trump, if not immediately, soon after. And, oh, here it is. Hang on. I had to change my password, by the way, on Google because, well, I won't tell you why, but I just didn't trust. I thought that somebody was trying to pull some shenanigans. So, and it had been a while. So I changed my password on Google, but they have a real flaw. Because what happened on Google, why is this being a pain in the boot? Just sign me in. Just keep me signed in. Come on. Hang on. Is that not the right password? I feel like that's the right password. Oh, it sent my wife a code. Never mind. We're gonna have to deal with this later. We're not going to sign into Fox News. So anyway, what happened was I was changing my password on Google, and then I went on my phone today to pull up the Google, and it said, you need to sign back in. And I was like, okay, so I signed back in with my new password, and it says, you need to open up your app to tap, yes, it's you, but I couldn't do that because I wasn't signed in, and it took me like 30 minutes to get back into my Google account. So it was just awful and pointless. Anyway, so we'll be watching Newsmax today because we can't get into Fox News, but I am watching Fox News in the corner because this is cool too, because my office at home, which one day I'll show you the whole thing. I've transformed it into a little tiny studio, and the goal is one day we hope to get back on the television. The goal is we're going to be producing even more and more things, but I had two options. One option was we have a room upstairs, which is dark and in the corner, and it's kind of a blank slate. And we used it for a lot of Patriot storage and things. The beanies were stored there and books and things like that. The kids would do their projects and whatnot when they needed a space to do projects. And I was like, that's a blank slate. We could just start from scratch and we could just make that a mini studio, and I could do the podcast. I could do all of the editing here. I could do TV hits, all that kind of stuff from up there. It's in close proximity to the children's bedrooms, which is not, ideal, but it's also quieter and it's away from the street. So you don't hear any of the garbage trucks or weed whackers or leaf blowers or any of that. In the end, I decided that's a lot of work. I got 90% of my stuff set up here already, and we're just going to go with this. But I was thinking of doing a couple of things. One of the things is, and I know everyone wants the Patriot wall back up, but that thing, I don't have space. My room's not that big. That you're going to have to wait till we get the laundromat going, which again, one day we will. My goals and my vision for the future has not changed. In fact, it's intensified. My goal is to have a studio where not only can we do this kind of stuff every single day, but we could have an audience in front of us. We could have actual helpers. We could have producers again. We could have people calling, anything at all. That's my goal. But anyway, in the meantime, what I was thinking of doing was on this big black soundproof wall, get a screen so that we could have a screen actually just right here. and we could put the flag, we could put the logo, we could put whatever we wanted on there. I don't know. I'm still contemplating. I'm sure there will be plenty of suggestions. The gnome is not going. The gnome is staying. This was a gift from somebody at the Margaritaville Mastermind at the Flag Day party. In fact, everyone's been asking me, Mark Kaye, where did you get your MAGA gnome? And it's handmade by this guy. Here's his name. Ready? He actually inscribed it. He wrote, "Gnomes by Design, Patrick Martin, June 14th, 2024, TB Day, Trump birthday." And he signed it. And Gnomes by Design, this guy, I guess he buys gnomes, blank gnomes. He painted it red, white, and blue. He put MAGA here. He put Patriot on the backside there. You know, like the girls had Juicy on their butts. Now he's got Patriot on the gnome's backside. So it was great. And he just brought it and he gave it to me as a gift. Oh no, I just messed up the T. And I loved it. And I go, oh, I'm putting this on my desk. And sure enough, I put it right back here. And that's the thing I probably get comments on the first thing is people, they write to me and they go, when are you back on the radio? And I go, never. And then they go, what about the gnome? Where can I get one? And I said, I don't really know. He left his phone number, but I don't just want to give out his phone number on the internet because I feel like that's not a good idea. But maybe I'll text him and see if he's got like a website or something like that. By the way, folks, speaking of Patriots in good standing, Dean Himes from out in Colorado, he was one of our Patriots of excellence on the Patriot Wall of Excellence. Hey, Mark, the Mark Kaye Show and the Trump train are picking up speed. Let's write a song about it. He did supply all of the Trump train songs with the whistles. You may remember. We have a lot of talented musicians, a lot of talented people who listen to the podcast and everything else. I don't know if you can see that, but he dropped a $20 Rumble rant. Dean Himes, we definitely appreciate it, and we do miss your musical contributions to the show. Not to be confused with Randy Brumley, who wrote the Shirkin song. Randy Brumley and Dean Himes both, out of the goodness of their heart, just dedicated a little bit of their time to create musical interludes and musical elements that we could use on the show, and we appreciate both of them for that. And now that we don't use them anymore because different show. But Randy Brumley's out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And when we head there, I'll meet up with him. We're supposed to jam. That's what musicians do. They get together and they jam. And that's what we've got planned. We're going to plan a jam in Tulsa. And then Dean Himes, like I said, is out in Colorado. I don't know if I have plans to get out to Colorado, but hopefully this is funny. Let me share this with you. So since I'm independent and since I can travel, and I can go wherever I want, whenever I want. Look at this. I decided I was going to go to D.C. because Washington, D.C., my in-laws live there. I lived there for a while. And I wanted to go and we were always supposed to broadcast from the Capitol, but our schedules never matched up. Well, now my schedule is pretty wide open. So I went to the congressional calendar and I was like, let me see what September looks like on the congressional calendar. And wouldn't you know it, look at this. In September, yellow are the days that Congress is in session. Blue are the days yellow are the days that I think both houses are in session. Yes. Blue means only the Senate is in session. So look at this. We're currently in August and they're off. They're done. There's nothing. Here's the convention just wrapped up. They've got all next week. They're on vacation. A lot of the Democrats are going to be going away. Then it's Labor Day. They have another week after Labor Day. And then look at this. On September the 9th, Congress is back in session. And they're in session for all of 3 weeks. Not even, because Congress takes off the 13th and another long weekend. They're in session all of 3 weeks, and then they're done till after the election. All of October, shut down. Election day, shut down. So they've got 3 weeks here to jam in a lot of work. I don't know that they're going to do it all, but I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to go to D.C. and if I'm going to hang out at Congress and I'm going to hang out on Capitol Hill and I'm going to get all these interviews, I should probably do it sometime in September. So these are the days, the 9th, 10th, 11th. That's when we're going to Philadelphia. We'll be back on the 12th. And then it looks like I'm going to have only 2 other weeks. I may have to turn around and go right to D.C., either the 16th, 17th, or 18th, or the 23rd, 24th, 25th. And then, so we're going to be traveling a lot. We got a lot of plans, but I want to first of all, I want this schedule. An entire month off. Look at this. And yes, technically, I guess I could I could just take off a month, but I mean, I don't want to. Also, I do have to do, I mean, there's stuff there's bills that got to be paid. But it's remote. I just forget sometimes what these calendars look like. And yes, they do most of their work in the beginning of the year. Yes, the bulk of it is the first 6 months, but then it's wild. So look for me to be not only heading to Pennsylvania, but also to Washington, D.C. And then, like I said, there's other swing states. I don't know which ones are the swingiest. I already went to where is Newsmax? There it is. I already went to Milwaukee. I already went to Wisconsin. We're going to Pennsylvania. Maybe we'll hit Michigan, although I don't really know that I want to do that. And then, Georgia's right up the road. So, maybe we'll go to Atlanta. Maybe we'll go to Atlanta and talk to the folks in Atlanta and see what they think about Brian Kemp rejoining with Donald Trump and rededicating himself to the cause of conservatism and getting Donald Trump back into the White House. We'll see what they think about Donald Trump and Brian Kemp, new BFFs. One time and once again, BFFs. We'll see what they say. By the way, we knew, for those of you that are like, where is this guy? We know, fun fact, I knew going into it that this was going to happen. We all know that when they say 2 o'clock, they mean 2:30. I would have thought they started by now, but 2:45, it looks like, maybe even 3 o'clock. These things are notoriously behind schedule, and they do that for a reason. They want to make sure everybody's there, nobody misses it. They want to build up the intensity. Although I feel like we're all pretty intently waiting for this. I feel like they don't need to really build up the intensity. They don't need to build up the momentum and the emotion. We've all been pretty excited about this announcement for days now. But it's their show, and they're going to run it however they want. They'll come out here in just a minute, hopefully, and then we'll be able to. But I knew this was going to be happening. I prepared for it. And that's one of the reasons we like to run some of our pre-recorded interviews featuring me and Jesse Waters, which, wait, hold on. Where's Jesse Waters? There he is. Ta-da. I'm going to put that on my resume. I'm going to be like, appeared with Jesse Waters in an internet video. Let me turn him off. There we go. All right, let's see. Let's go to some comments quickly. If we have any super chats or some Rumble rants, we will feature you, by the way. If you'd like. Oh, Michelle's in the Nashville area. So if you go to Atlanta, I'll go and see you. Fun fact, I might actually just go to Nashville because one of my best friends lives in Nashville, and I haven't seen him in a while. And he's always saying, you know what, come to Nashville. And I'm like, all right. And I never do. So maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll go to Nashville. Maybe we'll do a party. I hear there's some good bars in Nashville. I hear there's some bad bars in Nashville too. And we'll do some man on the street stuff. And then, you know what else is in Nashville? The Daily Wire. Maybe we'll swing by and say hello. But it's an exciting city, and it's not too far from where I am too. So maybe, you know what? Maybe, although Tennessee's not a swing state, that's the reason I would go to Georgia, is maybe we'll do both. Maybe we'll go to Atlanta in October. We'll roll through to Nashville and we'll see what's up. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I could just spend the rest of the quarter traveling. Oh, and don't forget about the poker tournament. The poker tournament is fantastic, and it's happening. The poker tournament, fun fact, when we started this poker tournament years ago, I got invited to a charity poker tournament. And the woman who invited me said, look, here's what we're going to do. You're going to be a bounty, and you just have to you'll play for free. You can win, you can lose, it doesn't matter. You can get all the prizes. You're a competitor in the tournament, but just know it's all for charity. And so I went to this charity poker tournament, and I watched as people started to just rebuy and make donations, and they played these games. And I was there for maybe 2 or 3 hours, and I pulled her aside. I go, hey, can you tell me, by the way, how much money this charity poker tournament makes? And she goes, this one was okay. It wasn't the best. It only made about $9,000. I was like, what? $9,000? That's what we were making a year in our charity, and they'd done it in just a couple of hours. And I go, wait a minute, you made $9,000? She goes, yeah, you could make a lot more though, depending on if you have more people. And I go, can you help me? And she goes, absolutely. She said, Kaye's kids would be the ideal situation for a tournament, because the more people you get, the more fun you make it, the better it is. And so we started the poker tournament that year, and the first year we made $12,000. And I was just I was like, that is amazing. We blew past the 9,000. We got $12,000 for Kaye's kids. It perpetuated the charity for another year. It was awesome. The next year, we grew the poker tournament even more. We made 20. Then we made 25. Last year, we broke records. We were pushing $40,000. My goal this year for the poker tournament, by the way, is $40,000. That's our goal. Pretty confident we can make it. We're adding more tables. We're adding more ways for you to gamble. We may extend it a little bit. But I think, and we're going to have people coming in. Listen, if you're thinking of flying, and I'm going to be 100% honest with you. If you're thinking of flying to Pennsylvania to have drinks with us after the debate, okay. If you hear that I'm going to be somewhere else and you maybe have to take a trip to get there, fantastic. I'd love to have you. But if you want to spend your money on an event that is incredible, is incredibly fun, is incredibly rewarding, is the kind of event that you are never going to forget in your entire life, and fun fact, can win you $2,000 cash, then you're going to want to come to the Ho Ho Hold'em Charity Poker Tournament, which is which is on December it's the first Thursday in December, which would make it, let me go to December here, December the 5th. I was right. December the 5th, 1 month after Election Day. And depending on who wins the election, we'll either be really excited for the Charity Poker Tournament or not so much. But what we're looking at, what we've got is Best Bet, which is the most incredible poker room in the state of Florida, probably the country. They're amazing. They run it in such a great way. Last year, we had people that showed up from Minnesota. They flew in from Minnesota just for the poker tournament. And I asked them, I go, how did you hear about it? They said, your podcast. So even back then, even when we were on the radio, we had people who listened to the podcast every single day. They were dedicated listeners and they were so patriotic. They were so into the cause. They loved it so much that they made it a trip. They flew from Minneapolis, Minnesota, all the way to Jacksonville, Florida to come to the Ho Ho Hold'em Charity Poker Tournament, and they loved it. And we have a hotel. We get you a special rate on the hotel. We had a shuttle bus the other time so that people, because some people drink. Most people drink, and we don't want them driving back to the hotel, so we have a shuttle bus. We'll probably Hannah will be there. She wasn't there last year. She had a baby or something, so she totally skipped out. But she told me that she would be at the next one. I don't know if we're going to invite her because she was a no-show, because I invited her to the last one and she was a big no-show. Kind of left me high and dry, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And then this is the exciting thing too. All the money that we raise, we're able to keep going with Kaye's kids over and over and over again, both in July and in December. We're able to keep all of the amazing gifts going. We're able to, like, for example, if you missed it on July 31st, we took all the kids to a Jacksonville jumbo shrimp game, which was fun. It got rained out somewhere around the 5th or 6th inning, but I think everyone got a rain check. Also, the jumbo shrimp were not in their best form. Maybe, they maybe needed a little bit more practice before the next game. But again, we're able to bring these kinds of opportunities to these kids and their families, these children who are battling these life-threatening illnesses. And we're all able to do it because of your generosity. And because we also don't just want to beg for donations, we want to give you this memorable experience. December 5th, the Ho Ho Hold'em Charity Poker Tournament. So again, if you've got the budget for one trip every year, I would love for you to come see me in DC. I would love for you to come see me in Philadelphia. I would love for you to come see me wherever I happen to go. But if you can wait and come December the 5th to the Ho Ho Hold'em Charity Poker Tournament, you will not regret it. You will not regret it. It will be the time of your life. All right, let's check in what's going on here. Oh, look, it's a jet pool and spa system. So we still haven't heard from RFK Jr. We still have not heard from Donald Trump, but we hopefully will. We hopefully will. Oh, this is nice. Look at Delinda V. Love and respect the wrench. LOL. Thank you, girls, for your hard work. That is true. Everybody give a round of applause to our moderators. Our moderators, Julie Toomey, Disney Up, Boiler Up, the D Dockery. They're always everywhere. And it doesn't matter if we're on for 3 hours a day or 1 hour a day. It doesn't matter if we're on at 9 o'clock at night or midnight. There's always, most of them, if not all of them, are there, and they are moderating the stream. And they do a fantastic job. And what happens is, they get a little wrench by their name. If there's a troll and I can't get to it, which I can't, they get rid of them. And keep in mind, I should also point out, trolls are not people who disagree with you. If somebody comes in and goes, Trump sucks, Kamala's great, that's not a troll. But if they're like, Trump effing sucks repeatedly, or they're trying to sell something, or they're promoting their own videos or their own platforms or their own whatever. Oh, wait, it looks like we're starting. Oh, here we go. Here we go. It's starting. It's happening.
3, I launched my campaign for President of the United States. I began this journey as a Democrat, the party of my father, my uncle, the party which I pledged my own allegiance to long before I was old enough to vote. I attended my first Democratic convention at the age of 6 in 1960. And back then, the Democrats were the champions of the Constitution, of civil rights. The Democrats stood against authoritarianism, against censorship, against colonialism, imperialism, and unjust wars. We were the party of labor, of the working class. The Democrats were the party of government transparency and the champion of the environment. Our party was the bulwark against big money interests and corporate power. True to its name, it was the party of democracy. As you know, I left that party in October because it had departed so dramatically from the core values that I grew up with. It had become the party of war, censorship, corruption, big pharma, big tech, big ag, and big money. When it abandoned democracy by canceling the primary to the cognitive decline of the sitting president, I left the party to run as an independent. The mainstream of American politics and journalism derided my decision. Conventional wisdom said that it would be impossible even to get on the ballot as an independent because each state poses an insurmountable tangle of arbitrary rules for collecting signatures. I would need over 1 million signatures, something no presidential candidate in history had ever achieved. And then I'd need a team of attorneys and millions of dollars to handle all the legal challenges from the DNC. The naysayers told us that we were climbing a glass version of Mount Impossible. So the first thing I want to tell you is that we proved them wrong. We did it because beneath the radar of mainstream media organs, we inspired a massive independent political movement. More than 100,000 volunteers sprang into action, hopeful that they could reverse our nation's decline. Many worked 10-hour days, sometimes in blizzards and blazing heat. They sacrificed family time, personal commitments, and sleep month after month, energized by a shared vision of a nation healed of its divisions. They set up tables at churches and farmers' markets. They canvassed door to door. In Utah and in New Hampshire, volunteers collected signatures in snowstorms, convincing each supporter to stop in the frigid cold, to take off their gloves, and to sign legibly. During a heat wave in Nevada, I met a tall, athletic volunteer who cheerfully told me that he had lost 25 pounds collecting signatures in 117-degree heat. To finance this effort, young Americans donated their lunch money, and senior citizens gave up part of their Social Security checks. Our 50-state organization collected those millions of signatures and more. No presidential campaign in American political history has ever done that. And so I want to thank all of those dedicated volunteers and congratulate the campaign staff who coordinated this enormous logistical feat. Your accomplishments were regarded as impossible. You carried me up that glass mountain. You pulled off a miracle. You achieved what all the pundits said could never be done. You have my deepest gratitude, and I'm never going to forget that, not just for what you did for my campaign, but for the sacrifices you made because you love our country. You showed everyone that democracy is still possible here. It continues to survive in the press and in the idealistic human energies that still thrive beneath a canvas of neglect and of official and institutional corruption. Today, I'm here to tell you that I will not allow your efforts to go to waste. I'm here to tell you that I will leverage your tremendous accomplishments to serve the ideals that we share, the ideals of peace, of prosperity, of freedom, of health, all the ideals that motivated my campaign. I'm here today to describe the path forward that you have opened with your commitment and with your hard labors. Now, in an honest system, I believe that I would have won the election. In a system the kind that my father and my uncles thrived in, a system with open debates, with fair primaries, with regularly scheduled debates, with fair primaries, and with a truly independent media untainted by government propaganda and censorship. In a system of nonpartisan courts and election boards, everything would be different. After all, the polls consistently showed me beating each of the other candidates, both in favorability and also in head-to-head matchups. But I'm sorry to say that while democracy may still be alive at the grassroots, it has become little more than a slogan for our political institutions, for our media, and for our government, and most sadly at all for me, for the Democratic Party. In the name of saving democracy, the Democratic Party set itself to dismantling it, lacking confidence in its candidate, that its candidate could win in a fair election at the voting booth. The DNC waged continual legal warfare against both President Trump and myself. Each time that our volunteers turned in those towering boxes of signatures needed to get on the ballot, the DNC dragged us into court, state after state, attempting to erase their work and to subvert the will of the voters who had signed those petitions. It deployed DNC-aligned judges to throw me and other candidates off the ballot and to throw President Trump in jail. It ran a sham primary that was rigged to prevent any serious challenge to President Biden. Then, when a predictably bungled debate performance precipitated the palace coup against President Biden, the same shadowy DNC operatives appointed his successor, also without an election. They installed a candidate who was so unpopular with voters that she dropped out in 2020 without winning a single delegate. My uncle and my father both relished debate. They prided themselves on their capacity to go toe-to-toe with any opponent in the battle over ideas. They would be astonished to learn of a Democratic Party presidential nominee who, like Vice President Harris, has not appeared in a single interview or an unscripted encounter with voters for 35 days. This is profoundly undemocratic. How are people to choose when they don't know whom they are choosing? And how can this look to the rest of the world? My father and my uncle were always conscious of America's image abroad because of our nation's role as the template for democracy, the role model for democratic processes, and the leader of the free world. Instead of showing us her substance and character, the DNC and its media organs engineered a surge of popularity for Vice President Harris based upon, well, nothing. No policies, no interviews, no debates, only smoke and mirrors and balloons in a highly produced Chicago circus. There in Chicago, a string of Democratic speakers mentioned Donald Trump 147 times just on the first day. Oh, who needs a policy when you have Trump to hate? In contrast, at the RNC convention, President Biden was mentioned only twice in 4 days. I do interviews every day. Many of you have interviewed me. Anybody who asks gets to interview me. Some days I do as many as 10. President Trump, who actually was nominated and won an election, also does interviews daily. How did the Democratic Party choose a candidate that has never done an interview or debate during the entire election cycle? We know the answers. They did it by weaponizing the government agencies. They did it by abandoning democracy. They did it by suing the opposition and by disenfranchising American voters. What most alarms me isn't how the Democratic Party conducts its internal affairs or runs its candidates. What alarms me is the resort to censorship and media control and the weaponization of the federal agencies. When a U.S. president colludes with or outright coerces media companies to censor political speech, it's an attack on our most sacred right of free expression, and that's the very right upon which all of our other constitutional rights rest. President Biden mocked Vladimir Putin's 88% landslide in the Russian elections, observing that Putin and his party controlled the Russian press and that Putin prevented serious opponents from appearing on the ballot. But here in America, the DNC also prevented opponents from appearing on the ballot. And our television networks expose themselves as Democratic Party organs. Over the course of more than a year, in a campaign where my poll numbers reached at times in the high 20s, the DNC-aligned mainstream media networks maintain a near perfect embargo on interviews with me. During his 10-month presidential campaign in 1992, Ross Perot gave 34 interviews on mainstream networks. In contrast, during the 16 months since I declared, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, and CNN combined gave only 2 live interviews from me. Those networks instead ran a continuous deluge of hit pieces with inaccurate, often vile, pejoratives and defamatory smears. Some of those same networks and colluded with the DNC to keep me off the debate stage. Representatives of those networks are in this room right now, and I'll just take a moment to ask you to consider the many ways that your institutions have abdicated this really sacred responsibility, the duty of a free press to safeguard democracy and to challenge always the party in power. Instead of maintaining that posture of fierce skepticism toward authority, your institutions have made themselves government mouthpieces and stenographers for the organs of power. You didn't alone cause the devolution of American democracy, but you could have prevented it. Oof. The Democratic Party's censorship of social media was even more of a naked exercise of executive power. This week, a federal judge, Terry Doty, upheld my injunction against President Biden, calling the White House's censorship project, quote, the most egregious violation of the First Amendment in the history of the United States of America. Doty's previous 155-page decision details how just 37 hours after he took the oath of office, swearing to uphold the Constitution, President Biden and his White House opened up a portal and then invited the CIA, the FBI, CISA, which is a censorship agency, it's the center of the censorship industrial complex, DHS, the IRS, and other agencies to censor me and other political dissidents on social media. Even today, users who try to post my campaign videos to Facebook or YouTube get messages that this content violates community standards. 2 days after Judge Doty rendered his decision this week, Facebook was still attaching warning labels to an online petition calling on ABC to include me in the upcoming debate. They said that violates community standards, their community standards. The mainstream media was once the guardian of the First Amendment and democratic principles. and has joined this systemic attack on democracy. It also, the media justifies their censorship on the grounds of combating misinformation, but governments and oppressors don't censor lies. They don't fear lies. They fear the truth, and that's what they censor. And I don't want any of this to sound like a personal complaint, because it's not.
My personal
for
complaint.
me, it's all part of a journey, and it's a journey that I signed up with. But I need to make these observations because I think they're critical for us doing the thing that we need to do as citizens in a democracy to assess where we are in this country and what our democracy still looks like, and the assumptions about U.S. leadership around the globe. And are we living up, are we really still a role model for democracy in this country? Or have we made it, a kind of a joke? And here's the good news. While mainstream outlets denied me a critical platform, they didn't shut down my ideas, which have especially flourished among young voters and independent voters, thanks to the alternative media. Many months ago, I promised the American people that I would withdraw from the race if I became a spoiler. A spoiler is someone who will alter the outcome of the election but has no chance of winning. In my heart, I no longer believe that I have a realistic path to electoral victory in the face of this relentless systematic censorship and media control. So I cannot in good conscience ask my staff and volunteers to keep working their long hours or ask my donors to keep giving when I cannot honestly tell them that I have a real path to the White House. Furthermore, our polling consistently showed that by staying on the ballot in the battleground states, I would likely hand the election over to the Democrats with whom I disagree on the most existential issues: censorship, war, and chronic disease. Oh, I want everyone to know that I am not terminating my campaign. I am simply suspending it and not ending it. My name will remain on the ballot in most states. If you live in a blue state, you can vote for me without harming or helping President Trump or Vice President Harris. In red states, the same will apply. I encourage you to vote for me. And if enough of you do vote for me, and neither of the major party candidates win 270 votes, which is quite possible, in fact, today our polling shows them tying at 269 to 269, and I could conceivably still end up in the White House in a contingent election. But in about 10 battleground states where my presence would be a spoiler, I'm going to remove my name, and I've already started that process and urge voters not to vote for me. It's with a sense of victory and not defeat that I'm suspending my campaign activities. Not only did we do the impossible by collecting 1 million signatures, we changed the national political conversation forever. Chronic disease, free speech, government corruption, breaking our addiction to war have moved to the center of politics. I can say to all who have worked so hard the last year and a half, thank you for a job well done. 3 great causes drove me to enter this race in the first place, primarily. And these are the principal causes that persuaded me to leave the Democratic Party and run as an independent. And now to throw my support to President Trump. The causes were free speech, the war in Ukraine, and the war on our children. I've already described some of my personal experiences and struggles with the government's censorship industrial complex. I want to say a word about the Ukraine war. The military-industrial complex has provided us with a familiar comic book justification, like they do on every war, that this one is a noble effort to stop a supervillain, Vladimir Putin, from invading the Ukraine and then to thwart his Hitler-like march across Europe. In fact, tiny Ukraine is a proxy in a geopolitical struggle initiated by the ambitions of the U.S. neocons for American global hegemony. I'm not excusing Putin for invading Ukraine. He had other options. But the war is Russia's predictable response to the reckless neocon project of extending NATO to encircle Russia, a hostile act. The credulous media rarely explain to Americans that we unilaterally walked away from 2 intermediate nuclear weapons treaties with Russia and then put nuclear-ready Aegis missile systems in Romania and Poland. This is a hostile act. And that the Biden White House repeatedly spurned Russia's offer to settle this war peacefully. The Ukraine war began in 2014 when U.S. agencies overthrew the democratically elected government of Ukraine and installed a hand-picked pro-Western government that launched a deadly civil war against ethnic Russians in Ukraine. In 2019, America walked away from a peace treaty, the Minsk Agreement, that had been negotiated between Russia and Ukraine by European nations. And then in April of 2022, we wanted the war. In April of 2022, President Biden sent Boris Johnson to Ukraine to force President Zelensky to tear up a peace agreement that he and the Russians had already signed, and the Russians were withdrawing troops from Kiev and Donbass and Lugansk. And that peace agreement would have brought peace to the region and would have allowed Donbass and Lugansk to remain part of Ukraine. President Biden stated that month that his objective in the war was regime change in Russia. His Defense Secretary, Lloyd Austin, simultaneously explained that America's purpose in the war was to exhaust the Russian army, to degrade its capacity to fight anywhere else in the world. These objectives, of course, have nothing to do with what they were telling Americans about protecting Ukraine's sovereignty. Ukraine is a victim in this war, and it's a victim of the West. Since then, of Russia and both Russia and the West. Since then, we have, since tearing up that agreement, forcing Zelensky to tear up the agreement, we've squandered the flower of Ukrainian youth, as many as 600,000 Ukrainian kids and over 100,000 Russian kids, all of whom we should be mourning, have died, and the Ukraine's infrastructure is destroyed. The war has been a disaster for our country as well. We squandered nearly $200 billion already, and these are badly needed dollars in our communities, suffering communities all over our country. The Nord Stream pipeline sabotage and the sanctions have destroyed Europe's industrial base, which formed the bulwark of U.S. national security. A strong Germany with a strong industry is a much stronger deterrent to Russia, and a Germany that is deindustrialized and turned into just an extension of U.S. military base. We've pushed Russia into a disastrous alliance with China and Iran. We're closer to the brink of nuclear exchange than at any time since 1962. And the neocons in the White House don't seem to care at all. Our moral authority and our economy are in shambles. And the war gave rise to the emergence of BRICS, which now threatens to replace the dollar as the global reserve currency. This is a first-class calamity for our country. Judging by her bellicose, belligerent speech last night in Chicago, we can assume that President Harris will be an enthusiastic advocate for this and other neocon military adventures. And President Trump says that he will reopen negotiations with President Putin and end the war overnight as soon as he becomes president. This alone would justify my support for his campaign. Last summer, it looked like no candidate was willing to negotiate a quick end to the Ukraine war, to tackle chronic disease epidemic, to protect free speech, our constitutional freedoms, to clean corporate influence out of our government, or to defy the neocons and their agenda of endless military adventurism. But now one of the two candidates has adopted these issues as his own, to the point where he has asked to enlist me in his administration. I'm speaking, of course, of Donald Trump. Less than 2 hours after President Trump narrowly escaped assassination, Kaye Means called me on my cell phone. I was then in Las Vegas. Kaye is arguably the leading advocate for food safety, for soil regeneration, and for ending the chronic disease epidemic that is destroying America's health and ruining our economy. Kaye has exposed the insidious corruption at the FDA, the NIH, the HHS, and the USDA that has caused the epidemic. Kaye had been working on and off for my campaign, advising me on those subjects since the beginning. And those subjects have been my primary focus for the last 20 years. I was delighted when Kaye told me that day that he had also been advising President Trump. He told me.
Sorry, I've been tweeting because I have to tweet and watch at the same time. But I did want, and I also wanted to check out CNN because I only have one TV. I don't have like the 5 TVs that I want that I one day will have in the laundromat studio. But right now I have the one TV. So I checked on CNN.
And I met with him the following day.
CNN has already cut away.
A few weeks later,
they have him. They have him in the box. They're talking over him. They're basically calling him crazy. They're calling him crazy. They're saying that he had no path to victory anyway. They're saying he's bitter. They're saying he's attacking the media unnecessarily. But we I will say this: it's definitely
join forces as a unity party.
It's definitely an interesting speech, and will be more historic than the Kamala Harris speech last night.
Would allow us to disagree publicly and privately, and fiercely, if need be, on issues over which we differ, while working together on the existential issues upon which we are in concordance. I was a ferocious critic of many of the policies during his first administration, and there are still issues and approaches upon which we continue to have very serious differences. But we are aligned with each other on other key issues, like ending the forever wars, ending the childhood disease epidemics, securing the border, protecting freedom of speech, unraveling.
I'm also monitoring all the comments on Twitter because there's a lot of comments on Twitter, as you can imagine. And that's where we get about most of their news.
The business of propagandizing and censoring and surveilling Americans and interfering with our elections.
Is just the worst.
Following my first discussion with President Trump,
oh, here we go.
I tried unsuccessfully to open similar discussions with Vice President Harris. Vice President Harris declined to meet or even to speak with me.
Shocking.
Suspending my candidacy is a heart-rending decision for me, but I'm convinced that it's the best hope for ending the Ukraine war and ending the chronic disease epidemic that is eroding our nation's vitality from the inside, and for finally protecting free speech. I feel a moral obligation to use this opportunity to save millions of American children above all things. In case some of you don't realize how dire the condition is of our children's health and chronic disease in general, I would urge you to view Dr. Carlson's recent interview with Kaye Means and his sister, Dr. Casey Means, who is the top graduate of her class at Stanford Medical School. This is an issue that affects all of us far more directly and urgently than any culture war issue, and all the other issues that we obsess on and that are tearing apart our country. This is the most important issue. Therefore, it has the potential to bring us together. So let me share a little bit about why I believe it's so urgent. Today, 2/3, we spend more on healthcare than any country on earth, twice what they pay in Europe.
So he's going on now. So we're going to turn down a little bit because now he's going on and on and on about his platform, and that's good. And he's getting into the specifics. But here's what we know. Here's what we learned from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He began as a Democrat in 1960. Okay, good. He said the Democrat Party used to be the party of civil rights. They used to be the party of the working class. They would protect the environment. They were against censorship. Now they're the party of war, censorship, big pharma, big money. They've abandoned democracy, and they are they're basically evil. The media, he really attacked, ripped into the media, said the media is responsible in part for the devolution of American democracy. They could have stopped it. The media could have stopped it. The media had the opportunity to put their foot down and say, no, Democrats, we are not going to let you allow this democracy to devolve into nothing. They didn't do that. They became complicit in its devolution, and they are part of the reason to blame. Pardon me. This is where it gets really interesting. He said he's staying on the ballot in blue states. So he's suspending his campaign. He's telling all the people in his campaign, look, we're not going to campaign anymore. We're not going to go out and we're not going to raise money saying, stop giving me money. I'm not campaigning. In a blue state, in New York, in California, in New Jersey, in Colorado, probably, in Washington and Oregon and all those places, everything, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, all of those states up and down the East Coast, and potentially New Hampshire, which I've told you we need to keep an eye on. Everyone's calling New Hampshire for Kamala. What is it? I still get confused. But I believe that that's a winnable state. Virginia, all those blue states, he's staying on the ballot because that will draw votes away from Kamala Harris. If it's a state that Donald Trump is not campaigning in or doesn't appear that he's going to win, then RFK is going to remove his name, going to keep his name on the ballot so that could draw even more votes away from Kamala Harris. However, in the battleground states, 10 of them, he said in the 10 battleground states, I'm assuming he means Georgia, North Carolina, Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, maybe Virginia. He may be talking about Virginia. Minnesota could be another one. And what would the 10th battleground state be? Maybe New Hampshire. It may be New Hampshire. Anyway, in the 10 battleground states where he feels that Donald Trump has a fighting chance and that he would be a spoiler, he's removing his name from the ballot, and that has already happened. He's already started the process. He started the paperwork in Pennsylvania. He started the paperwork in Arizona. So what we're starting to see now, and what they're not going to show you this, but you're going to see panic in the Democrat Party. And already, if you look at CNN, they're at commercial break. I hear Fox News is pulled away now too. Fox News. Let's see what they're doing. And then, they've pulled away. They're waiting for Trump to speak. Trump is in Donald Trump is in Nevada right now. Interesting. So Donald Trump's in Las Vegas. He'll speak, and then he has a rally in Arizona tonight. So we're going to see a little message from him. He's at some kind of really cool looking, I don't know if it's a Mexican restaurant or something, but it looks like, if you ever go to a Mexican restaurant and they have a little stage set up with a mural. Oh no, it's Italian. It's Florence. Oh, look, it's an Italian restaurant. So Donald Trump's at some Italian restaurant with a mural of Florence in the background and the bridge. What's that bridge called? I forget. Interesting. Ponte Vecchio. That's it. So he's having some pasta. Maybe he'll come out and he'll make a statement about RFK, and about RFK withdrawing from the race and formally. And he did. That was the other thing. That was the other very important thing we should point out is that he has formally endorsed Donald Trump for president. He has formally endorsed Donald Trump, and he has said, "Hey, what's going on with my camera? Hey, stop moving." He said, "This is an important race. We can't allow Kamala Harris to win this, and it's something that we need to. It's something that we need to be very cognizant of." Let me pull this up for just a minute.
Still speaking, but he has announced that he is.
Okay, so Newsmax is pulling away too, so we're going to pull away as well. That was pretty good. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. As we suspected, by the way, Marielle BA 67. How many shovels will you need to bury Kamala and the demon rats after this? Thank you, Mark, with a $5 of support. I feel like Bernie Sanders. Just $1, just $5, whatever you can spare. Well, $5, that's all it takes. Keep it going. No, we appreciate that Rumble rant. We appreciate all of the super chats today. That's it. That's what you see now is something that we knew was coming for a couple of days. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. just lambasting the media, ripping to shreds the Democrat Party on the day after Kamala Harris and the Democrats tried to make a play for being the party of joy. Watch Chris Ruddy. Hold on, that was my bad. Chris Ruddy's on. I want to hear Chris Ruddy's take on this. He's the CEO of Newsmax.
I was seeing that those numbers for Kennedy were helping Trump. They were Democratic voters that were moving away from Biden and Harris. So the fact that a Kennedy of his stature, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is endorsing President Trump, I think is very big.
Okay, good.
And the Democrats really were very worried about him.
So that's basically what we were saying. Anyway, so here's what we got. We've got, hold on. I want to make sure he's saying what I think.
Exciting news for the president. I think it's going to give him a little.
Okay, good. It's going to give him a little bit of a bump. But anyway, listen, this is exactly what we expected. Last night you had Kamala Harris and the Democrats, and what they were doing was they were trying to sell this idea of a Democrat Party that was pro-union, pro the little guy, pro-America, that the Democrat Party was going to somehow be all of a sudden pro-law and order and pro the border, that the Democrat Party was somehow going to come together and fix all the things, which, by the way, they broke. They broke it. And they're the bull in the china shop, and they want you to continue to keep feeding their bull for 4 more years. And I think this is going to be devastating to them. I think even though they're not going to cover it, CNN's not going to cover the speech after this. Fox News is going to cover it, here and there, but ABC News will just ignore it. But even though they're not going to cover it, what you're going to see and what you're going to understand and what you're going to witness moving forward is that the Democrats are going to have a tough time trying to sell the American people on their vision of their party when one of the icons of their party has just come out and admonished them, desecrated them, destroyed them and their media counterparts, and said, look, this is not the party of my father and my uncle. This is the party of, what was it? War, censorship, corruption, big money, big pharma, big ag. And they have been complicit in the devolution and destruction of democracy. President Trump's coming out at the Italian restaurant. He's talking to some ladies who, I don't know what their job is, but he's talking to some, he's got some remarks. All right. I guess I was going to wrap it up, but I guess maybe we'll hang out because Donald Trump's coming out. Hopefully Newsmax.
A little bit longer than me, but ask any question. The fairness of
I
it.
love that.
There's
Yeah.
no
maybe
mandate.
cut to President
There's no
Trump.
weird stuff happening at the top. You guys, let us do our job, and it's been incredible. It's been an incredible run that we've had here.
They're sucking up to the boss.
So we're having more and more Democrats come onto this show and onto the network.
Chris Ruddy, the CEO, is
we give them a fair shake.
He's getting
we don't criticize them. We want
he's
to
getting a
hear
little
their
brown nosing
points
from
of
his
view.
employees.
I just saw
which is
this week somebody who's sort of well-known political newsmaker, and they said they were going on MSNBC, and the producer said, "What are you going to talk about?" And they said, "Well, I actually want to praise President Trump." This is when Trump was president. And the MSNBC producer said, "Well, I'm sorry, we don't allow that on the network." Like, somebody on Newsmax, a producer said that, they wouldn't be here. Like, we would never tell people to not criticize Joe Biden or criticize him. We just don't do that. And I think, people we have day and night here, people that are both pro and con President Trump. We just believe in giving people information, let them decide.
That's right. So why do we think viewers are changing from networks like Fox and others?
Okay, all right, so they're just pimping Newsmax, which I guess they're going to do with the CEO. We're watching, and as soon as Donald Trump steps up to the podium and gets ready to speak, I think what he's doing is he's probably waiting for the signal that RFK Jr. has wrapped up. He doesn't want anyone to cut away. I guess he's given the man his due. Maybe that was part of their deal. Their agreement was you have to let me finish up. And I don't know. Everyone's cut away from him, so I don't even know if he's still. I don't even know if he's still speaking or not. But as soon as we'll hang out, and as soon as Donald Trump starts speaking, we'll bring you that as well. So in the meantime, if you're like, what do we do in the interim? Now would be a great time if you'd like to send a super chat on YouTube. If you'd like to make a comment and you want to guarantee that it's read and displayed on the broadcast feed, by all means, super chat it up. Super chat it up. And if you'd like to send us a Rumble rant on Rumble, absolutely. We would love a Rumble rant as well. Both of those things are much appreciated. And oh, here we go. Here comes President Trump. Let's see if they cut to him.
And they're all in more households than we are. You combine them all, and we were still beating them in ratings.
All right, let's cut
to
Donald Trump.
Wow. I know we have more rating information. I think that might be it. There we go. Nielsen showing that we are a top 10 cable channel.
Come on,
You're looking at
Newsmax.
it right there.
What are you doing?
How important is that?
Oh, okay, hold on. We're gonna have to.
Well, it's huge when you think
We're gonna
that
have to.
there's
We're gonna have
hundreds
to
of
find a
cable
different
channels,
outlet.
and we're
I'm sorry.
relatively new.
We're missing Donald. Hold on. Let's go to President Trump. Where?
Reuters came out with a study in June saying that
I'm a little shocked.
major news brands in America that
I'm a little shocked that we're not getting Donald Trump from Newsmax. Going to be honest with you. Going to be honest with you. Where?
New, and it's just it's you guys, what you're doing here. It's the audience out there that's turning.
They don't want to cut off Chris Ruddy because he's the boss. Hang on, I'll find some.
I think it's leadership as well, Chris. I starts put that in. It does.
Guys, cut to Trump.
Let's talk about the IPO.
Oh my God!
What's
No,
going on
don't
with-
talk about the IPO. Why don't you cut to Trump? All right, little. Hold on, we'll take a little chill here. Hang on, let me go back to Hang on, ugh. I was not prepared for Newsmax to not report the news. Let me go. Well, I may just have to go. I may not be able to bring it to you because my news network of choice is deciding to interview the CEO instead of showing Donald Trump. So anyway, we'll get back to that in just a minute. Let me pull it up here on Fox News. All right, so right now he's still just introducing people, so they may just be waiting for him to get rid of all the introductions. But it is probably important for us to hear, I would imagine, what he's saying about this endorsement that he just received. So we'll stick with Newsmax, and hopefully they'll get there because, like I said, right now I'm locked out of basically everything out. Yesterday, Beyonce dissed Kamala, and today Trump got a Kennedy endorsement. That's fantastic. We'll read some of your other comments here in just a minute. Let's see if, you know what, let me try one more thing. I'm going to have to switch to, I'm going to have to write a strongly worded email. I'm going to have to write a strongly worded email. Let's see what we got. Maybe we can get on Fox News. You know, this is disappointing. Hang on, I'm trying to find it. I just assumed that they would have it. But that's what you know what happens when you assume stuff. You make an ass out of yourself. I think that's right. Let's see if Newsmax is back. Now I can't get on Newsmax at all. I'm going to text Chris Ruddy in a minute and be like, hey, could you please show me Donald Trump? Thanks. All right, bear with me. We're getting there. Okay, finally. Thank God. It took you so long.
And then they copied us a couple of months later, but I don't think anybody's buying it. That's like last night, the speech. She made 26 different things that were lies. She lied, but that's okay because a lot of people lie. They'll do anything to get elected, but she lied about, she's increasing taxes, I'm decreasing taxes, and she put it the other way around. Perhaps she misspoke. Perhaps. Nearly 2/3 of the workers are women, and an estimated 700,000 single mothers nationwide rely on tip income to support their children. These are some of the best and hardest working people in America. And when I'm president, you are the ones I will be fighting for, and I'll be fighting for you very hard every single day. Kamala Harris is now pretending to
mispronounced
endorse
her name.
my policy. She's got a lot of other policies. She's a copycat. She's a flip-flopper. You know what a flip? She's the greatest flip-flopper in history. She went from communism to capitalism in about 2 weeks. But in fact, Kamala cast the tie-breaking vote. to hire 87,000 new IRS agents to go after your tip income. They're going after it in a lot of ways, so I don't know what they're doing now. This has happened with a lot of industries. When we come out with something, they immediately fold. But you know that after the election, if something horrible, horrible happened, which is always a possibility, especially the way they cheat. But if something horrible happened, you know that you'd go right back and you'd never see anything about no tax on tips. You know that. Under Kamala and Crooked Joe Biden, where is he? Where's Joe? What happened to Joe? He's on a beach someplace. He's angry. The IRS has imposed costly and burdensome new reporting requirements on restaurant and other employers, and these employers are great people. They're great people. They really work hard, like Javier. They work very hard, and they do an incredible job. And this is going to make their life a little bit easier because, frankly, for them, it's a lot better, too, when they have happy employees that are making a little more money and just do a better job. People like Javier are very happy. He was happy to hear about this. Every restaurant owner is happy to hear about this. But they're trying to squeeze every penny out of this tip income the government is. And now they're not going to be able to do that. We're going to get this done very fast, too, by the way. Kamala also sponsored legislation to blow up the tip system entirely, which would inflict financial calamity on food servers and bartenders in Las Vegas and all across America. They have bills pending and things pending and resolutions pending and special orders pending where they're going after your tips. I don't know what they're going to do with that. Are they supposed to be dropping? I assume they're going to be dropping all that stuff, at least until after the election. They'll bring it back after the election. Kamala supports a bill to eliminate the federal tip credit, which would force restaurants to impose large service charges on diners, meaning customers will not leave tips at all, and you'll be stuck with a minimum wage or whatever you might be making. This is something that they're forcing. I will never let that happen. Under the Trump administration, you'll keep your tips, and restaurant workers will keep all of your hard-earned money. I met this incredible young woman. She was standing behind the counter. I walked into a restaurant, whatever it may be. What was that restaurant? That Chick-fil-A, right?
Chick-fil-A.
A religious owner and a great guy, and it's good.
What was that restaurant called again?
And she saw me and she said,
Chick-fil-A.
President
Chick-fil-A, right.
Trump, and she gave me the biggest hug. She said, "You saved my college," and she loved that college, right? And you love me, and I love you too. I do actually. But it was like instant chemistry, right?
Yes, immediate. I told him earlier, we're best friends.
Yeah. They didn't know I was coming. We do that surprise. I guess we do that for certain reasons, like security and things. We don't want to broadcast it too much. But I walked in and she grabbed me and I grabbed her. But I saved her college. That's the historically black colleges and universities. And she loved her college. She thought it was. I said, "Do you really like it? Was it good? Go ahead, give it a little public."
I love the illustrious Clark Atlanta University.
Do you see? And she really did. It was great to see that, as opposed to, it was okay. She thought it was great. So I'll see you in a little while. Thank you, honey. Thank you very much for being here. We'll all be joined today by Nicole Williams, the mother of a 6-year-old member of the Culinary Union and a bartender. Can we get the Culinary Union to maybe vote for Trump? Because, they're great people.
Yeah, get the Culinary Union behind Donald
head
Trump.
of, like a Democrat, the head, even if the Republican's better, and a lot of the Republicans aren't better, but I'm a lot better, and I'm the one that got this thing done. And so if we could speak to the head guy, let him be nice and easy, just relax. We're going to win. The state is looking very good. We just got a poll. We're leading by a lot. But we want to get the Culinary Union. How many members of the Culinary Union are here? Oh, you have a lot. I can tell you have a lot. But I think a lot of them, we had a poll done, and a lot of them are voting for us, I can tell you right now. But people that depend on tip income for our family. So, Nicole, if I could ask you to come up and say a few words. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Mr.
Please.
Trump.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is the honor of my life to be up here with my favorite president. And his no tax.
Tracy Thompson, thank you so much. We really appreciate that super chat. That is amazing. Listen, there a lot of people are reacting, and we'll get back to President Trump here in just a minute. A lot of people are reacting to what's been going on. This is amazing, by the way. Was that $49.99? Tracy Thompson, thank you, Mark, for putting America first and helping to save the Republic. I don't always get to listen live, but I always catch up with the recording. Love listening to you. So glad you are back. Tracy, I appreciate it. I'm so glad to be back, too. And that is very, very generous of you. That's amazing. That was truly amazing. And thank you to Jay for his super chat, Leslie, Jennifer, everybody. All right, so Donald Trump is speaking, and he didn't mention RFK yet. He hasn't done it yet. Maybe he'll do it a little later on today. Maybe he'll do it at the TPUSA rally in Phoenix. But I did want to say that a lot of reaction on Twitter, a lot of reaction on X to this kind of news. I do hope, because what RFK Jr. basically has just done is he's joined forces with Donald Trump to attack and dismantle the deep state. And we all know from what happened to Donald Trump in the first election, or in the first 4 years, Donald Trump was elected. He beat back all the attacks. He spent 4 years getting attacked. We saw Nancy Pelosi in the bogus impeachments. We saw all of that. We've seen what's happened since then with the weaponization of the government, with the weaponization of the DOJ and the FBI and the attacks on everybody in the Republican Party and especially the Trump camp. With all of that, it's now imperative that in the next 4 years, Donald Trump has a team of individuals who are not only ready and willing, but also able to help him dismantle the deep state for good, because he's only got the 4 years. He's got a lot of work to do. Yes, he's got to make the country great again, the economy, the border, the mass deportations, all of that. But he's also got to get rid of all these terrible, horrible people who have been controlling things and weaponizing the government. And he's got to pave the way for the rest of conservatives, for the rest of the world, for the rest of eternity. You have to save the republic, and you have to do that by purging the enemies. Can't do it alone. Can't do it alone. Rest assured, he's going to have great people at the helm, and we're starting to see this team form. RFK Jr. being the latest of those. RFK Jr., they're showing right now the percentage in key swing states. In Arizona, RFK Jr. gets 5% of the vote. If that goes to Donald Trump, that's in the bag. In Georgia, it's 4% of the vote. In North Carolina and Nevada, also 4% of the vote. All of those very, very key states, and states that Donald Trump is leading, but could lead by a huge percentage if those supporters of RFK Jr. now throw their support behind Donald Trump, as he has requested they do. He said it. Your candidate said, please, I'm not going to be on the ballot in those states. When you go to vote on election day, when you go to vote early, which you should probably do, when you go to vote via mail, whatever, however you're voting, I'm not going to be on the ballot. Don't vote for me. Don't write me in. You're taken away from Donald Trump, and we need him at this day and age. So it's a real key, crucial, and historic moment for those kinds of guys. So listen, this has been an incredible day. It's been an incredible day. We had yesterday what we saw with Kamala Harris not making a case for the United States of America, the Democrat National Convention wrapping up with absolutely nothing happening. And then today, these deep state warriors coming together. And now what they're going to do is they're going to declare war on the Washington special interest groups, the Republicans and Democrats who control everything, and of course the media. And I just pray that RFK Jr. gets some extra Secret Service protection, or that he hires some extra bodyguards, because we know how these people react. They don't like it when you come after them. These swamp creatures don't like when you try to drain their swamp. They love their swamp. They don't want anyone just messing with it. They would rather just swim around in the muck for eternity, not letting you know what they're up to. But Donald Trump and RFK Jr. and Elon Musk and the rest, what RFK Jr., and this is where it's interesting, because RFK Jr. has a prominent place in the government and the history of our country, and he's also got a prominent place in media. And with Elon Musk doing his best already to purge and destroy mainstream media, big media, the corrupt media, with Elon Musk opening up X for free speech and creating an audiovisual medium where we can do and say things like this, and he can do and say things like he wants, and he can interview whomever he wants to interview. You're starting to see the crumbling of this interwoven one world economy that has taken over the United States. Social media, big media, the government, the special interests. It's really fascinating how it's working right before our eyes. And I know what you're thinking. Well, this is great. Okay, it is great, but they've got to get to office. This is the preliminary step. This is what happens first. This is the prep. You know, we're going to make this amazing cake, but first we got to prep all the ingredients. We got to sift the flour. We got to refine the sugar. We got to separate the egg whites. We got to preheat the oven. November 5th is when we can hopefully start baking. Everybody's got to vote. Everybody's got to go out and put these people in the position of power where we want them. And that's why we're all here. That's why I'm here every day. That's why I'll continue to be here every day. That's why we'll continue to record these podcasts and do these live specials and travel around the country and go where we need to go and talk to whoever we need to talk to. Because by entertaining you and informing you and enlightening you and inspiring you, we can hopefully keep you activated to save the United States of America and to save the Republic. This has been so fun. I have to go to the bathroom. This has been so fun. I'm going to go. I will be back on Monday, noon Eastern. Until then, please subscribe, because all weekend long, I'm going to be posting on YouTube. I'm going to be posting on Facebook and Instagram. If you're on Rumble, thank you so much. We'll be putting some videos up there as well. And if you're listening to the podcast, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share these podcast episodes so that everybody understands just how important it is that we all do what we can between now and November 5th to put these people in power. Thank you for all of your support all week long, not just today, but throughout the DNC. Thanks for being here and watching, and thanks for your super chats, and thanks for purchasing your stuff at the markshop.com, where we can continue to supply you with amazing, cool Mark Kaye Show gear, Patriot gear, Donald Trump's, just iconic quote on a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or a hoodie or whatever you want. markshop.com for all your Mark Kaye merchandise needs.